now to introduce our three judges. We have Mr. Justice Westman James, who is currently a judge of the High Court of Trinidad and Tobago. And prior to that, he was a High Court judge of the Supreme Court of Barbados. During his tenure at the Faculty of Law, where some of you may know him from, in Cave Hill, Barbados, he was the Deputy Dean for Postgraduate and Research, Deputy Dean for Academic and Student Affairs, and he was the recipient of the Principal's Award for Excellence in Teaching in 2017 to 18, and co-authored a text titled Commonwealth Caribbean Law and Procedure, the referral procedure under the Article 214 RTC in light of EU and international law. He was also a part of the UWI Rights Advocacy Project of the Faculty of Law, better known as URAP, as a litigation specialist. I can say a lot more about him, but in the interest of time, I think this would suffice. There's a lot to say about Mr. Justice Westman James. And we have Ms. Marcelle Ferdinand, who is the managing partner at J.D. Saley & Company, and she leads the firm's litigation team. She has more than 40 years' experience as a litigation attorney at law, with particular emphasis on commercial litigation, including banking, public law, medical negligence, and arbitrations. She regularly instructs both foreign and local counsel in the High Court, Court of Appeal, Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, and the Industrial Court, Tax Appeal Board, and in arbitrations, and has appeared as instructing attorney in an International Chamber of Commerce arbitration before an international panel of arbitrators at the International Arbitration Center in the United Kingdom. She also practices family law and has undergone training in family mediation to enhance her skills in resolving family disputes in a non-adversarial atmosphere. She has served as chairman and member of the Adoption Board of Trinidad and Tobago and has served 2 terms as vice chairman of the Disciplinary Committee of the Law Association and remains as a member. The final judge is Dr. Khatija Khan, who is a psychologist, clinician, and academic. She's based at the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine, where she's a lecturer in psychology in the Faculty of Social Sciences. She was previously a lecturer in clinical psychology in the Faculty of Medical Sciences, coordinator of the Master of Science Clinical Psychology program, and a member of the Faculty Academic Advising and Mentoring Committee. Dr. Khan is the president of the Caribbean Alliance of National Psychology Associations, commissioner on the Public Service Commission of Trinidad and Tobago, director on the board of directors of the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, member of the Mediation Board of Trinidad and Tobago, member of the Northwest Regional Health Authority, Regional Mental Health Committee, and past president of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists. Her professional and outreach interests include increasing public awareness of mental health and improving access to psychological therapies and assessments across the Caribbean. So as you can see, we have a wealth of experience among the 3 judges who will be looking for different skills among the interviewing participants. I just wanted to say a little bit about this competition. As you know, it tests the interviewing skills of the students, all of whom are year 1 students, so they have not yet been exposed to real client clinics in the legal aid program. So they had to learn from scratch, and we thank their coaches for the assistance that they provided to them, and to all the associate tutors who assisted them by pretending to be clients and allowing them to test their skills. So thank you very much. This program started, and I don't know how many people remember this, but this program started many years ago as a result of the intervention of Arthur Dion Hanna, Jr., who was then the director of the Legal Aid Clinic at the Eugene Dupuch Law School. He had visited the Cayman Islands Law School, and there was a competition there among those students, and he thought it was something that our students could benefit from. So it started not as a regional competition, but as a friendly competition among the 3 schools to hone the skills. And as with every competition, it eventually grew more competitive and became the regional competition, and then we were able to get Lex Caribbean to sponsor the shield, small reception, the awards to the students, And we hope going forward to sponsor some prizes for the competition. That may garner more interest among students to participate. So we look forward to discussions with Mr. Shepherd, who is looking at me with a very serious face. So we'll have some more discussions on that. But it is a good, very good competition in terms of the kinds of skills that are honed during the process of training. So we look forward to seeing what that has done in terms of developing our students as they encounter the person. I must introduce the client. I don't think he's here. He's outside, but I'll just let you know it's Mr. Justice Juncker, a graduate. Justin Juncker, also a graduate of the institution. He worked here at one point in time, has a very good private practice, and knows a lot about the competition. So I'm sure he's going to give the students a good run for their money as a client. Okay, so we wish you all well. Just remember, your students, and this is for the participants, your students, and as I've said to our team, at the end of today, the world is not going to end, regardless of the outcome. So enjoy the experience and just do your best. That's all anyone can ask of you. And I'd like to wish you all good luck. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal. Before we begin the draw for places this afternoon, I just wanted to make a few housekeeping announcements and to explain what's happening here. So, members of the audience, you're seeing furniture randomly displayed against the wall. That is because each team will be given 5 minutes to set up their office, because that counts for part of their scoring criteria of the judges, how they set up their office. After which, they will have 40 minutes to conduct an interview. The only time they will hear a signal indicating the end of time will be at the end of the 40 minutes. And thank you to Keisha, our timekeeper, for keeping that score. Now, within that 40 minutes, the attorneys are expected to conduct an interview for 30 minutes and then a 10-minute debrief after the client has left, so they need to manage their time. So before we invite the alternates of each team, can I see the members of the Eugene Dupuch Law School? Could you stand and let's see you? We have Delmar Taylor, Kareen Wilson, and Lacrosse Brown. And they are, of course, coached by Miss Anastasia Hepburn. We welcome also the Norman Manley Law School, Tyra McIntosh, Aaliyah De Silva, and Demario Patterson. Could you stand? Thank you. And they are coached by Miss Cassie Jean Graham Davis. And of course, our home team this afternoon, the Hugh Wooding Law School. We have Genevieve Mohammed, Marielle Garcia, and Reese Sankar. And they are coached by Miss Kavita Diochan. So at this point, I would like to invite the alternate members of each team, because the team comprises 3 persons, but only 2 are going to be showcasing their interviewing skills today. 1 member of the team is an alternate. Can I have the alternates from each team to please come down and draw for the position in which you will present your interview this afternoon? attorneys to be mic'd up with the lavalier microphones before we begin the setup of the office. And of course, the other teams, teams 2 and teams 3, will return to their designated rooms until it is their turn to showcase their interview this afternoon. Of course, it goes without saying, in these competitions, we ask that you turn your phones off or silence them. We do not want to have any interruptions while the interviews are in progress. So the liaisons can escort the visiting teams back to their rooms.
Check. 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 Take it over.
So the Hugh Wooding Law School will now be given 5 minutes to set up their office.
Hi, morning.
Hi. Hello, how are you?
I'm great. I'm here, I have an appointment to see your attorneys.
Sure. What's your name?
I'm Jacques Sparrow.
Okay. Please hold a moment for me.
Sure. I can sit down?
Yes, sure. Certainly.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Mrs. Farrell?
Uh-huh.
Hi, the attorneys will see you now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, nearly fall on here. So, all you have a sign here for like if people nearly fall on it.
I apologize.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sparrow. I am Genevieve Mohammed.
Hi, Genevieve.
Nice to meet you.
You can call me Jacques.
Jacques. Thank you for clarifying.
All right.
Mr. Sparrow, please follow me.
But just tell you could call me Jacques.
Jacques, sorry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sparrow.
Good
Mario
afternoon.
Garcia.
Jacques
It's
is in.
Jacques.
Jacques.
Yes. Pleasure to meet
Yes,
you.
and Jacques, my colleague, Mrs. Garcia, and I are associates in the conveyancing department at H. Wooding and Associates. And we have been assigned to your matter today.
Okay, good.
Please have a seat, Mr. Sparrow.
I was wondering if
Jacques.
you was going to stand up right through. Alright, okay, good.
Jacques, we hope that you did not encounter any traffic on your way here. Only today we became aware that they were setting up for Pan and the Greens close by.
Find any greens nearby?
Yes, it's about 2 streets away, around the Savannah.
We near the Savannah?
We are Mr. Sparrow.
In fact, we are.
I had check Waze, boy. All right, okay. No, I was fine. Everything, I reached on time. Actually, I had a little wait, but it wasn't that bad.
Well, we're glad to hear that, and we're glad that you can make it with us today.
Okay, good.
Mr. Sparrow, I know, do you enjoy Pan or the topic of Pan and the Greens?
I enjoy money.
Money. All right.
Enjoy
And
money.
all right. So now, getting into, or before we can get into your matter, in fact, is there anything that we can do to make you feel comfortable? I noticed that you slipped before you entered our office.
Yeah, listen, I expected to see a sign or something that say, that beware. I figure you all want people to sue and you all will take up the case.
Well, it is definitely something we would keep in mind going forward.
Yeah, I mean, short, I ain't have far to fall, but still, just, but I like money. I could just fall along there and that is it,
Well, Jacques, we do apologize about that. But again, we would ensure that the sign is there the next time you come to our office.
Okay, good.
Mr. Jacques, sorry. There's a bottle of water and some tissues if you would need any at any time throughout this consultation.
No rum?
No rum.
Unfortunately, not for this meeting.
But thank you very much.
Yes, so Jacques, we received your email, but before we can get into that substantive part of the consultation, just allow us to cover some preliminary matters. That is that this consultation is strictly confidential, so everything that you share with us, we cannot reveal unless you agree. And we want to let you know that you can feel comfortable telling us everything that is important about this transaction.
Okay. So I could tell you anything.
Everything.
Good.
We also had an opportunity to take a look at your file, and we saw that you were able to satisfy our consultation fee. Yes?
Yes, and this is just the initial consultation. We'll be, throughout today's 30-minute interview, we'll be taking a look at the email that you sent us, and we thank you for being so forthcoming with that information. And we'll just be asking you some further questions, just to expand on what you've already given us.
Okay.
You'll see us taking notes throughout the duration of today's interview. That's just to have a written record of what you've told us.
I read.
And we'll be giving you, after that, we'll be giving you some preliminary legal advice just based on what you've told us.
Nice.
Today.
Go off, sis. Okay.
Yes. And before we begin to recap your email with you, we just want to ask that you silence your phone throughout the duration of today's meeting.
I can't do that.
Mr. Sparrow,
No, I mean, it wouldn't make noise, but money. If money
Yes.
call, I have to answer for money.
of course, but we would ask, just so that we can get the interview done within the time we've allotted, that you do silence your phone. We have done so as well.
So I would expect you would silence your phone.
Of course.
And we have
But-
done so, Jacques.
So I've paid my fee for my time. And if part of my time is to take the call, I want to reserve the right to take the call.
Yes, Mr. Sparrow, and so that you can get back to your money, we would just ask that you silence your phone so we can get this done as quickly as possible.
Let's compromise. I have it on vibrate.
And that
That's,
is fine.
yes, that's no issue.
And if you do need to take a call, you can inform
Let us know.
Yes.
Okay. No, you will know. You will see me do this.
Well, we would.
Hello, yeah, in a meeting like that. We could
Yeah.
agree. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Sparrow, like we said, we just want to minimize distraction so we can
Jack.
get this
Jack.
so we can get this done within the time we've allotted, and you can get back to the money.
All right. Okay.
Yes. All right, Mr. Sparrow. So we did have an opportunity to look at your email, but before we can explore that, just allow us to briefly recap. Yes. So we understand that you have a power of attorney from Mr. Robertson, and Mr. Robertson is 88 years old. He's becoming forgetful.
Yeah, boy. I feel he forget he have this land to sell, yes?
All right, and that is certainly something we intend to explore in this consultation. You mentioned that you had an eager purchaser.
Yeah, yeah.
This purchaser wants to pay a deposit in cash.
Yep.
You also asked us to act.
I think they want to pay the whole thing in cash.
Okay, and that is something we will get into. Yes. And then you said that you wanted us to act for both parties in this transaction.
Yeah, I mean the purchaser, he has lawyers, but most of the lawyers are criminal lawyers, so I think
right.
they're looking for...
Mr. Jack. And did you walk with the documents that you said you would have brought to today's consultation?
For sure. Tell me what you want.
We would
Have
like
it here live.
the power of attorney.
Boom,
Thank you. The deed
boom bang,
and the 2 forms of ID.
blue toy.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Jacques.
I see you all not wearing glasses. You want a larger version of it? You want to see it big up?
Oh no, Mr. Sparrow, Jack, this would be sufficient.
You're sure?
I'm sure.
Those shape, you know, I have.
I'm sure. This is good.
All right.
We can assure you that our vision is is good.
Okay.
So we would not require any glasses or anything for this,
Okay.
this consultation. Yes, so while my colleague peruses those documents, would you just be able to confirm whether the spelling of your first name is Jacqueus or Jacque?
The first one.
The first one. And are you a Frenchman, Jack?
No.
No, you're
I'm
not.
a short man.
You're a short man, all right. Okay, and would you just be able to give us a contact number and address for yourself?
I'm a married man, so I don't give out my number just so. But you can contact me via email.
But we would need an address, certainly, and a contact number, just so that if
You could take the address from the power of attorney.
okay, so the address is on the power of attorney. All right, thank you. And we would also need a copy of, in fact, an original form of ID for you.
I didn't work with that, you know.
And that is something that we can collect before we begin.
I have it on my phone if you want to see it. It's a photo of
No,
my
we
ID.
would certainly prefer an original.
Okay,
the
fair
original.
enough, fair enough.
All right, so now getting into Mr. Robertson. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you met Mr. Robertson?
That's my real dog. He's like the goat. You know, we live next to each other and we get along. You know, he don't have anybody to take care of him, so I take care of him. He relies heavily on me and me alone.
So he's
He
your
doesn't have
neighbor?
any relative. He's my neighbor,
He's your neighbor.
and I take care of him. Yeah,
You take care
I
of
take
him.
him to the doctor. I take care of his food, his meals, his everything. He's wholly dependent on me.
Certainly, Jacques, and you know with a document like a power of attorney, it does come with a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And as you would know, as a real estate agent and having conducted transactions like this in the past, a power of attorney is a document that gives one person, the ability to act for another.
Yeah.
And Mr. Robertson sounds as if he has certainly entrusted you to act for him in selling this
Yep.
property. Yes? You mentioned that he has no relatives.
Well, none that I know of. If he knew them, he never mentioned them to me. Nobody's come around to see him.
All right, so no spouse, no children.
You see,
nothing
I
like that.
keep his phone, so I kind of,
You keep his cell
if
phone.
I don't know the number, I don't take the call.
All right. Okay, Mr. Jacques, and I would hand you over to my colleague that would get into the powers that you have in this power of attorney.
So, Jacques, I see that under this power of attorney, it appears to be quite a wide one. Any power in relation to the conveyance?
I think it narrow. It's telling you is for the land.
Yes,
get
but
more narrow
and
than
it
that.
says whatsoever necessary. So it sounds like anything necessary to
Anything
complete.
for the land is not a general power. You're not telling me I could
Yes, for
go
all its affairs. I understand.
in relation to the land.
Yes, in
I won't
relation
only
to-
feel that I just trick this man and I have everything to do with everything. It's really
Not
just
at all.
for this land.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And in relation to the power of attorney, I notice that it is has a thumbprint at the foot of the document, and I noticed that on Mr. Robertson's forms of ID, he has a signature. Any reason for that, to your knowledge?
You see, sometimes he forget how he sign. He not at that. He don't have it all together here now, you know. So, thumbprint. Yeah, he at that age where it's probably better he just use the thumbprint to make Maggie to sign something. It don't make sense. So we just put a thumbprint.
Okay, understood. And in relation to these documents as well, I noticed that on the passport, Mr. Robertson's middle name is listed as Robbie, but on the ID is listed as Ronnie. Any ideas to why that may be different?
Me, a godfather, how I
Of
will know
course.
that?
Of course, just
So you see, I can't answer that. I mean, he older than me by far, you
Of
could
course.
tell. So I can't speak to that.
And just one more question in relation to the deed. In the description of the property, I see in terms of the dimensions, it speaks about a property of 983.1 square meters, but on the power of attorney, it speaks about this property, the one that you're empowered to sell, as being of 1,983 square kilometers. Are you aware of that difference?
You know about that now? I just see he just hand me them documents and
Okay.
that is what it is I come to see all about. Or you could answer me that. I know way you could fix up that.
Okay, we're just making a note of it
Yeah,
at this
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Ms. Mohammed?
Yes, and Jacques, on the topic of his forgetfulness now I noticed that my colleague pointed out a thumbprint on the power of attorney.
Yes.
Can you get into whether or not Mr. Robertson has any underlying health conditions, yes, health conditions. Does he have any underlying health conditions?
I just tell you, he's not a lawyer.
You're not.
He's not a doctor. I wouldn't know if he have any mental anything.
All right,
He
and
cool with me.
We understand that you are not in a place to assess Mr. Robertson's
Yeah, I can't say that.
and the forgetfulness that you mentioned in your email. Now you are aware that he's becoming forgetful. Did anyone or any practitioner or psychiatrist assess this forgetfulness?
No, when I take him to the doctor, it's really to get sugar check, pressure check, you know, those things, that never come up. So, he had good, nobody can tell me he had bad, so I didn't check he had.
And when the thumbprint was used to sign the power of attorney, what is the reason for the thumbprint being used? Because it's usually mentioned at the bottom or next to the thumbprint, but I noticed that was not
Yes,
there.
that wasn't on the document.
I am not a lawyer. So I don't know what they put. They put the thing on the paper, he do things, so I was outside. I didn't know what went on inside. But I didn't want to be like, he up in the business and thing. So it was when he come out, they hand me the paper and say, look, so that is all I know.
Okay. So what I understand is that you were not there when the power of attorney was given.
I was there, but I wasn't there, if you know what I mean.
You were
But
outside.
I was outside.
Yes.
But
So you were not present and you were not there when the stamping was done, the thumb.
no. I want to be part of that.
So you do not completely understand the reason for the thumbprint being there.
I just figured the man old, he can't hold pen and I just have to feed him.
Mr. Jacques, in instances like this where forgetfulness becomes a serious concern, especially when granting a power of attorney, the power of attorney can become impliedly revoked if the seriousness is
Excuse? Implu what way?
impliedly revoked. And allow me to explain, Jacques.
Break it down to my level, please.
Sure, I would. So, where the person who gives the power, and that is Mr. Robertson, who is giving you the power to act on his behalf, where that person has some mental condition, so for instance, he's becoming forgetful to the extent that he may not even understand the details of the this transaction? Because you did mention before that you don't know if he's aware that he's given you or he has his house to sell.
But yeah, but I lose stock. So everything I use, everything I see, all you're going to throw back in my face.
And we're just
Look, all you forget to pass sign there, that not mean all you're mental.
not at all, Mr. Jacques, but you've come to us to seek your best interest, and as
My best interest? No. I come to seek all your best interests. I bring business to all you.
and coming to us, we owe a duty of diligence and care
A
towards
do
you.
what of who?
A duty of care and diligence.
A duty of hair?
Care,
Care.
a duty of care.
Uh-huh.
Yes? And we must ensure that any transaction that you are party to or you are involved in,
It's not party friend, it's business.
business. And thank you for, allowing me to explain what you don't understand, what you may have difficulties understanding. So back to the power, the language.
Go on.
Yes? So back to the power of attorney. Where Mr. Robertson may not understand that this power is being given, then that power can no longer be in effect. That is that you cannot sell the property, and if you do sell the property and he is not aware of this transaction, or he is forgetful to the point where he can't remember that this transaction is being conducted, then that can affect you in terms of you would be probably selling a house to your eager purchaser that does not, that cannot be passed on to him.
So here's what. I don't want to go down a particular route, right? So if I understand what you're saying, it's a precaution. You're telling me that you would want to know what his
Yes.
the mentals now.
Yes.
Yes.
We're not making any conclusive statements on it yet, but it's a precaution. Since you told us he's forgetful, we just want to ascertain or make sure what extent he's forgetful, so we can make sure that you still have that power. Because
So why are you doing that?
Through a medical examination by a psychiatrist, preferably.
A psychiatrist?
A psychiatrist.
Okay.
Yes, and once that medical examination is conducted, a report would be done and you can bring that to us.
All right. What else?
Now, on the details of the property, can you tell me where the property is located?
It's not on the deed?
it is on it.
It is on, all right, but and the
You read the deed?
I
We
did
have.
not. My colleague has perused it.
And that is something that they will tell you where it is.
All right,
Yes, it is on the deed.
the property?
It's a beach house, it's a beachfront kind of property. It's real nice. I like it.
And is this beach house
It's
currently
real nice.
occupied?
Huh?
Is it occupied?
I don't even know, you know.
You don't. Is it being rented?
I don't even know.
All right, Mr. Sparrow, and as you would understand, the only reason we're asking these questions is just so that we can have a thorough understanding of the property that is involved and the parties that are involved, or the persons that are involved in this transaction. So we ask that you kindly just bear with us while we get through the details.
Yeah, well, you
of
go.
this.
My crosses to bear. Yeah, I understand you have to do what you have to do.
All right, now on to the questions about the purchaser. Can you give us the name of this purchaser?
He just kind of want to keep it on the lows, so he sent me to check out the scene. And if all you're legit and all you're ready to rock and roll, then I will send him by all this. So, I mean, there are certain little arrangements we want to make so that we know that everything in a gear. So, like, for instance, is cash. He wanted where all you go hold the deposit, right? Like money. So I saying, right, I had to get my commission. So when they get all the deposit, I want my commission. Right? So what I will do, I'll make sure he comes here. And he don't go by no other lawyer. But all his other lawyers are criminal lawyers. So I know he ain't going nowhere else. If I tell him come here, you come here. Once I know, once all they get the deposit, I get my commission.
Ms. Mohammed, any more questions on the purchaser?
No, not at
So we'll be good with that.
Well, my colleague would address the issues on the purchaser and acting for the both parties in this transaction and
All
the
right.
deposit.
Yes. Do you have a name for this purchaser?
When I feel comfortable, just call him the boss.
All right.
Jacques, we would need Well, if not the original of an original form of ID for this purchaser as well, we would need a certified copy of his ID.
So what he will probably do, he will put it in a company name, so they will get them documents and things. I don't think them just buy thing in their own name.
Or Jacques, you're asking us to act for the purchaser.
Yeah, so the purchaser will then be like a company then. So you'll do an agreement and it'll be the company purchasing from.
And Jacques, you know, at the beginning of this consultation, we asked that you be open with all of the information that we may require for this transaction. And part of that openness is that we can get the purchaser's name and even the company's name, perhaps, that would be involved in this transaction.
That was a question?
Yes, it was. We are asking you to provide us with the purchaser's name or the company's name that you're speaking about.
Once I get the assurance that you all will conduct the transaction in the manner that I have just explained, and I feel comfortable, and I tell him, well, look, they're on board, then I will provide that information. I don't think that information is very relevant, no. When I make the decision, because you said this was just an initial consultation.
It is.
So you ain't ready to write up no document for me yet.
No, we're not.
So when you're ready for that information is when I will give you that. That is on a need-to-know basis history.
Mr. Jack, we would need to
No, it's
know-
Mr. Sparrow now.
Mr. Sparrow, we would need to know this information at this point, as if we are to agree to act for any of the parties involved, we would need to simply know who they are. So that's why we're asking for the identity of the purchaser at this point.
So all right, chicken, egg. Chicken, egg. Before you agree to act for us, I have to know that I agree to engage you all. And again, a kind of defensiveness now. So I'm asking, are you in a position to act as stakeholder, and do we have an agreement on the commission side of things?
Well,
You don't need to know their name to give me that information. I
Mr.
just want to know if we playing ball here.
Mr. Sparrow, as I said, we do need to know the identities of the persons we're acting for before we are able to decide to act for them.
So your decision to do what it is I ask you to do is based on who it is?
Well, that is part of the information that we would need to collect. And Mr. Sparrow, just this week, we were guided by the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago that attorneys acting in conveyancing matters are to be vigilant as to the identities of the parties involved in these transactions before we continue. So, as ministers of justice, we, as attorneys, we must ensure that we collect this information before we can proceed with drafting anything to begin this transaction.
Yes.
So before you get instructions to draft anything, I am asking, can the arrangement I just proposed, could that work for us?
Well, Mr. Sparrow, let's speak a bit about what you asked in your email in terms of us acting as stakeholder, and holding that cash deposit. Have you received a figure as to that deposit?
Well, it's selling for $1 million flat. And so the deposit will be at 10%.
10%, so 100,000. And in relation to that request, we are willing and able to act as stakeholder in this transaction where the issue arises is the cash. As you can imagine, crime is very rampant in Trinidad at this point. So holding that sum at our firm in cash is not a risk that we're willing to undertake. However, if
I could Venmo it, I could sell it, you could do it, we pay.
Not at office.
there is a method by which the purchaser will be able to deposit this cash into the bank. We will provide the details.
No. Here. No banks. No banks.
Well, Mr. Sparrow, as attorneys at law, we are at H. Wooding and Associates. We are registered under the FIU, so we are bound to, cooperate with the bank and work with the bank and do all our business through the bank to ensure transparency and accountability in everything that we do. So this is our method of operation. Should the purchaser, who we do not know about yet, seek to pay this amount in cash, he can deposit it. We will provide the details of our client escrow account, which is, if you would like me to explain that concept.
Please.
Sure. That is an account where we hold sums like these, the deposits, and any sums related to conveyancing transactions until the end of the transaction. So he can deposit it there. Alternatively, he can take that cash to the bank and present it as a manager's check, and we will deposit the sum into our escrow account the same way. So it's two different ways of doing the same thing.
All right, so assuming that we could do it by wire transfer and so on, how I will get my commission?
Mr. Sparrow, as I mentioned, we are not willing to facilitate a wire transfer. The methods by which we operate are the ones that I mentioned.
But the wire transfer is through a bank. Wire transfers operate through banks.
Yes, but we would prefer that he go to the bank and that he also would need, or she.
When
the
you say
purchaser.
he, I mentioned earlier that is a company.
Yes,
So,
or the entity
so
which
the
you're speaking about.
entities, so okay, when a company is selling something or buying something, they don't send somebody to the bank, they just do that clickety-clack. Press send.
They may send a representative, and more importantly,
I telling you, no, that thing called ACH and wire transfer and routing number and all of that, I do this,
more importantly, Mr. Sparrow, we would need someone to go to the bank so that a source of funds declaration can be done. As Ms. Mohammed mentioned, we have our obligations under the FIU in relation to ensuring that the source of
oh,
these
you're
funds.
taping this or?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
In ensuring that these funds are legitimate. So that is another reason why he will have to do that declaration with the bank.
Bless
as well.
you.
And so this, as I mentioned, are the methods by which we receive these funds at all.
Okay. So, it had to go through the bank.
Yes.
And he had to get a source of funds, but that's his business.
Yes, it is. And as you are the one that has spoken to him, so we would like you to advise him of what we've told you. Today, have a conversation with him or her about it.
How
Or-
dare you assume the identity or the gender of the person to whom I am speaking?
My apologies. The entity or whichever person you've interacted with that is the
Is that
innocent
they, them?
They, the person that you've interacted with, let them know about the information we've told you in terms of payment, and that this is the methods by which we operate at all.
And how will I receive my commission from it?
Yes, in relation to the commission, no. That commission, we have to advise you, is not to be taken from the deposit, because that deposit is solely for the purpose of securing the transaction.
Yeah, but it could go through. I just don't want to have to wait for the balance.
Yes, and Mr. Sparrow, we understand that you're all about the money, and we know you want your commission, but this, as I mentioned, this sum is really for as a deposit, is to secure the transaction, and we are holding it as a stakeholder in this transaction so that should anything go wrong on either side, it can be paid to the party who's not.
You're not going to miss it, you know.
Sorry?
That is a piece of a piece.
Yes, and Mr. Sparrow, of course, as attorneys, again, we have ethical obligations under the Legal Profession Act, which we are bound by.
What are you trying to say?
That we will not engage in any activity which could prejudice your reputation as a real estate agent or our own. Even if nobody finds out about it, as you say, that is action, a course of action that we would prefer not to take in accordance with our ethical obligations.
So you can't make an exception in this sentence. I mean, I bring in the business to you.
We're afraid not, Mr. Sparrow.
What are you afraid for?
That's not something we're going to do in a situation like this.
Can't no way about. So, all right. Well, I'll have to talk to them and get back to you and see I write down nothing. So if you could just tell me what it is how to do, and then see.
And our secretary would be sure to provide you with an email after this consultation by latest tomorrow morning with the details. And
Money don't sleep, honey. I want to know now.
okay, and allow us to just recap before we proceed. So you mentioned that Mr. Robertson, he's your neighbor. He does not have any relatives as you are aware of. Yes, you said that you don't know the extent of his forgetfulness, but you said that you could have a medical examination done and a report produced to us.
Would.
The property, you mentioned that the address is on the power of attorney, but I would still like to ask if you can give me that address just to confirm with the document.
But it's right here, right here.
And
Which is that it put
again,
on?
it's just to ensure that we gather all of the information that we set out to gather in today's consultation.
See what I put on.
All right.
No, hold on. But this is my paper. Why is she not giving me my paper, ma'am?
We
Ma'am?
would have a look at the documents then,
Okay.
Jacques. All right.
Mr. Sparrow.
Mr. Sparrow. Jacques, Mr. Sparrow. What would you prefer? We call you for the rest
Since
of
all
the
you're moving so formal is Mr. Sparrow for me.
Mr. Sparrow.
Mr. Sparrow, was a valuation done on the property to determine the purchase price?
No,
No. And what is the purchase price of this property?
$1 million. $1 million.
$1 million. All right. Now, the details of the property is set out in the deed. All right. Now, we clarified as well that we are not willing to accept cash, and that money must be done. If he still wishes to pay
Oh, you
cash.
don't like money, boy?
We like money, but not in that form.
Okay.
Yes, and it's not our money. It goes. We are holding it simply for the transaction.
Yes.
So it doesn't belong to us. And we mentioned that we're not going to act for both parties up until the. So yes, we're not going to act. We're not willing to act for both parties. We're willing to draft the sale, the agreement for sale, but we will not act after that. And we advise that the purchaser, whomever he or she they may be, seek independent legal advice. This is just to conduct any independent inquiries into the property as well. Yes? So, having...
I don't really think they want to inquire too much into the property. I don't even think they're interested in the property, to be honest. I think they're just looking for a place to...
Mr. Sparrow, we...
Looking for a place to. Sorry.
They're just looking... Let me continue.
No, Mr. Sparrow, we would really like you to be open with us about anything concerning this potential transaction. So please go on.
It's not for me to say, but I don't think they really want the place, you know? I think they just have money and want something to do with it.
Okay, we will make a note of that suspicion of yours.
And having said that, Mr. Sparrow, before we can begin to draft an agreement...
No, but that's not going to be a problem, right? I mean...
Well, we, as you've, mentioned that you're not willing to disclose the identity of the purchaser.
Well, if all they're not willing to act for them, I do have to say it until their lawyers...
But we must ensure that we verify that on our end as well. So an agreement for sale will not be drafted until we can attain or get the identity of that person.
Okay,
Yes?
fair enough.
And for that agreement for sale to be drafted as well, we would also need WASP clearance certificates for the property, proof of payment of any land and building taxes, proof of payment of utility bills within the last 3 months, and we would also need 2 forms of ID for Mr. Robertson, so not copies.
But you have them there?
We have
Yes,
the
we have copies, but we would need the originals to verify
I
that.
can
these-
scan and email it to you.
No, we are not willing to accept copies, and again, it's because we've become vigilant of, any fraudulent activities that's
Why you
been-
keep telling me about fraud? What about me says fraud?
Nothing about you says fraud, Mr. Sparrow, but the courts
You
has
could call me
become-
Jack again.
the courts has become more aware of fraud in land transactions, and again, we as attorneys must be vigilant in conducting these transactions.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes? So, we would also need to have a search done on the power of attorney just to ensure that at no time that this power of attorney was revoked. And we would also have to ensure, again, as our own due diligence, that it is valid. Yes? And we would also have to conduct a title search on the property just to ensure that it belongs to Mr. Robertson.
Okay.
So, having said that, we would now walk you through our retainer agreement.
So, Mr. Sparrow, Jacques, simply put, a retainer agreement is the contract between an attorney and its client. It outlines the scope of our services, fees, and our responsibilities as the attorneys and your responsibilities as our client, prospective client as well. So you may have a look at it. It can also be emailed to you if you wish to have a further review of it.
Okay. How to sign this?
If you are satisfied with what you've seen and comfortable with it, you may sign.
All right.
And having regard to what we've told you in the advice as well.
Yes. In the list of documents that our secretary would request from you as well. There would also be a Know Your Client form, and we would ask that you fill that out.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes? So, do you wish to sign the retainer today, or would you like this emailed to you?
I want to think about it. I have 2 other lawyers I'm going to see. I'm shopping right about now.
All right, Jacques. So that concludes the time that we've allotted. to
Money
your-
calling.
Yes, just as we're wrapping up.
Yes. So,
Mrs. Sparrow, so we can wrap up. Just to clarify, we will not be acting on your behalf until you sign that retainer.
Okay.
all right, Mrs. Sparrow, allow me to walk you out.
All right.
And Mr. Sparrow, if you do wish to consider our services, here's our business card. You can give us a call.
But I have your number. That's how I get here.
No problem. You can still refer to it there on the
I
business
know,
card.
thanks, but I don't know paper.
No
All
problem.
I decided you need me
Well,
to
you have
work
our
with this.
contact.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sparrow.
Pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, and do have a safe journey home. Allow me to walk you out and ensure
To
that
hold man and make sure I don't
you
fall.
don't fall at the end. Yes.
I leave in this.
You may take it if you wish.
Get something free, boy.
All right, Ms. Garcia. So what do you think about our client?
Well, he's quite a character.
Certainly, yeah. And with a name like Jack Sparrow, you would expect that
Yes,
he is.
yes. I'm immediately struck by how little he knows about many aspects of this transaction, about the property as well, about the purchaser.
Not that he doesn't know information about the purchaser, but he doesn't wish
he
to
seems to
reveal
be
it.
tight-lipped about it as well.
And I do believe that it would be wise of us not to act until we can obtain that information on the purchaser and the other documents that we requested from him.
Yes, and he himself raised a suspicion about the purchaser, about the reasons why they were purchasing the property. He himself suspects that they may not really want to buy that property, but maybe using it as a means of something illegal. So definitely a red flag and something that we should consider if he
Moving
wants to
forward.
retain us. Maybe it's a good thing he didn't retain us yet.
Certainly, and if he does and the documents come forward, we can contact our colleague, Mr. Rankisoon, the search clerk, and I'm sure he would be able to conduct the searches on the property and the power of attorney just to ensure its validity.
Yes, and as you mentioned, our obligations according to the Law Association's recent release. A lot of questions about Mr. Robertson's ID, a lot of inconsistencies between the forms of ID. So definitely something we have to look into.
Yes, and I believe our colleague, Mr. Sanker, he dealt with a matter recently where there was identity theft in
Yes.
a land transaction.
Yes, I was supposed to meet with him for drinks tonight, but I have a lot of doubts about this transaction, so I think I'll give him a call now and ask him if he can come up.
Certainly, Ms. Garcia.
Yes, hello, Mr. Sanker. Yes, we just got a client concerning a conveyancing transaction. And I know we're supposed to meet up later, but I have some doubts about him and I want to run them by you. And it's right up your alley.
Yeah, certainly. I'll come down now.
Thank you. Yeah, we just move on. We go this way.
Okay, thank you very much. The Hugh Wooding Law School. The attorneys can step outside so that the microphones can be removed, and please allow us a few minutes for our maintenance staff to put the office back to the neutral position. school will now set up their office space.
Some of your lawyers today.
Okay. What is your name?
Jacques Sparrow.
Okay, Mrs. Sparrow, you can have a seat, please. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Yes, great.
Mr. Sparrow?
Yes.
Come this way for me, please.
Yeah.
Kindly watch your step.
Oh, so Olin have a sign here.
Good morning, Mr.
Shake with this
Sparrow.
hand. This hand. God.
Very well. Good morning, Mr. Sparrow.
Mrs. Sparrow, how are you doing?
Well, I just bounced my hand. How you mean how I doing? My hand hurting me. Or you have a sign here or anything?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We'll try to have a sign put up,
Can't even
just
hold
in
my
case.
water now.
I'm so sorry.
I could put this
I'm
down.
so
Anyway,
sorry.
no. I get
Welcome to Macintosh and Associates.
Yes,
My
yes,
name
yes.
is Damario Patterson. This is my partner, Miss Alia Da Silva.
Mr. Sparrow?
Please come in and have a seat.
Father. So people never complain to you about that thing right there. Or they put a sign, nothing.
You've been the first complaint in actuality, but we will have a sign erected just in case.
But I had to be the first client you ever had.
I can assure you that that's not the case, but
Yes.
in any event, I really am
We
sorry.
expecting somebody else.
No, not
So why are you facing so?
not at all. You're facing that way so that it's not as front forward, so you can just feel as comfortable as possible.
But I'm feeling awkward now. I had to turn here to.
Would you like to
I even had to put the mic on the other side or kind of thing. Jeez, alright.
would you like to change the position?
You put me here, I stay in here, Papa.
Very well.
Before we begin, would you like any refreshment?
I got water from the client. The attorneys I saw before, so I'm nursing that drink for now. It's not water in there anymore, though.
Very well. As you know, we are scheduled for a 30-minute consultation today.
Mm-hmm.
First, we'll ask you to provide us with some information about your matter, after which we'll ask you some questions.
Information? You didn't get the email?
Yes,
So you know why I'm here?
yes, we do know just some brief details, but we'll need certainly more. We'll certainly need more to help you.
That's understandable. What you need?
So we will just have you just tell us some more information about the matter that you will have, and we'll ask you some direct questions so that we're able to ascertain that information, and we'll have it flow in a better way so that we're having accurate record of whatever it is that you will share with us here today.
Okay.
Thank you also for filling out the consultation form. I'd like to just verify some of the information.
I don't remember doing that. When I do that?
We received the consultation form a week ago
Okay.
via email.
About a
And-
week ago.
First, allow me to say, Mr. Sparrow, you have quite a unique name.
Indeed.
The spelling I have here, and please confirm it, it's Jacqueus.
Yes. Oui.
Spareaux.
Oui, oui.
Très bien. Très bien. Can you tell me where you live, Mr. Sparrow?
Which one of my addresses? I mean, I'm a real estate agent. I could live in any one of my clients' properties. So, which address you want?
We'd like your residential address.
You could use number 5, Dragon's Row, King's Landing.
Thank you. And could you just confirm your telephone number for us, please?
I don't give out that just so you know. You have my email address. You could check me there.
Very well.
You know, my wife killed me.
We certainly wouldn't want that, Mr. Sparrow.
And let me assure you, Mr. Sparrow, that everything that you share with us here today will remain confidential, which simply means that we're not at liberty to disclose this information unless you consent or instruct us to do so. You'll also see us taking notes. That is simply for us to have an accurate record of the information you share with us here today, and that too will remain confidential.
Okay.
Awesome.
We encourage you to be as open and just tell us all the information so that we can be as well informed as possible to give you the best advice. in
Yes.
circumstances.
Okay. Fair enough.
We want to thank you for paying your consultation fee and let you know that we have done our necessary checks within the firm, and as it stands, there's no conflict of interest with any of our clients.
Okay. Cool.
Awesome.
In your email, Mr. Sparrow, you said that you're a realtor.
Yep.
I can
The
imagine
realist.
the realist realtor. Certainly, I can imagine.
I'm going to put that on my cards from now, the realist realtor.
Very well, Mr. Sparrow. That must be quite a lucrative field considering the flux of development nowadays.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Money, boy, money.
Very good, Mr. Sparrow. You also said that you are acting under a power of attorney for Mr. Robertson.
I'm not acting, I'm real. You just call me the realist realtor. What acting you tell him about?
Very well. Mr. Sparrow, you are attorney pursuant.
I am a realtor.
Yes. Yes,
You are an attorney. Me, realtor. You, lawyer.
Yes.
Very well, Mr. Sparrow.
So the power that you have on behalf of Mr. Robertson.
Oh, that. Okay. Oh, God. Sorry.
Indeed.
I know
So-
how I come across there. Sorry, no. I didn't.
So,
I
yes.
forget that. That is what they call it now.
Exactly. So whilst it is that we are the attorneys here today to facilitate this consultation, you are the attorney for Mr. Robertson with regards to his interest to have this house sold,
Okay.
as you would have indicated in your email to us.
Okay.
Could you provide us with some information about Mr. Robertson?
Well, so Robbie is my neighbor. He's my real partner. I mean, he's an old guy. He don't have any family seeing after him. And so I just go and check on him. I just take care of him. He's basically, he adopt me as his son and I just treat him like my father. You know, I just carry him to the doctor. I just feed him. I just answer his phone. I take total control of him then. Because he don't really have anybody to look out for him like that now. You know?
Well, you had mentioned in your email that he's becoming increasingly forgetful.
That man's so forgetful. I think he forget he had a land to sell.
Could you tell us why you'd say that he's becoming forgetful?
Me, realtor.
Yes.
Me, no doctor. I can't tell you why he forgetting. I just, man, old. When people get old, sometimes they forget.
Yes, so on the basis
Like when I walk in out here, I might forget and walk into your wall again.
I certainly
Until you
will.
put up a sign.
We'll remind.
All right.
So in the instance,
I'll remind you to remind me.
Certainly.
in the instance where it is you would say that he's becoming forgetful, what we're trying to ascertain from you is whether there has been a particular instance where something would have been shared with Mr. Robertson, or he would have shared some information with you, and in having better dialogue with him or a follow-up perhaps in relation to selling the house, he's not recalling that information being shared.
So I have free access. I've been in the man place right through, you know. So I was going through his papers and I say, hey, but Robbie, you have a piece of land here, boy, what are you doing with it? He didn't know what I was talking about. When I show him it and thing, he say, well, look, yeah, it's a little beach house, a little beachfront property, I have in Tobago there, and, you know. I say, well, you know, I mean, you can make a little money from that.
And when did you have this conversation with Mr. Robertson where he was not remembering about this property?
I can't remember, about a week ago.
About a week ago. Very well.
You would have also made mention of Mr. Robertson. You had referred to him as Robbie. It seems that you would have an informal relationship, as you've also indicated that
That's
he
my
adopts
boy.
you like a son.
That's my boy. That's my bro. He's the goat.
He is the good. Okay.
Could you say, Mr. Sparrow, you mentioned earlier that
They
one
could
of
call
the-
me Jacques.
Very well, Jacques. One of the things you mentioned that you'd help Mr. Sparrow out with is bringing him to the doctor. Can you say you've brought him to the doctor and there's been any medical checkups that relates to his forgetfulness?
Yes.
No, check his sugar, check his pressure. You know, that thing now, the thing it is hard to do. And you young, you ain't gonna know about that thing.
Very well, very well.
I can tell you that thing is hard to do, and they check that, you know.
But nothing related to his forgetfulness.
Mm-mm.
Very
It would be certainly helpful if a checkup could be done on Mr. Robertson that could speak to his forgetfulness so that we are well informed whether or not this forgetfulness will be attributable or impacts his mental competence, given that you act as attorney for Mr. Robertson to conduct the sale of this property.
Okay. So, but what I had to do with him selling the property?
Well, it has a lot to do with selling the property on behalf of Mr. Robertson because you're acting in the best interest of Mr. Robertson.
All right.
as
So
his
it don't matter. He gave me the power. I do the thing for him. I collect my commission, you know, make the payments, and that's it.
I do understand that.
Me too. That's why I say it.
Jacques,
We.
the law is such that the power of attorney may become revoked if it's a case where
Who revoking my power of attorney?
because of if there's a case where the forgetfulness that you speak of, is
So you never
absolutely-
forget nothing?
and that is why
You just forget my name.
I
You
didn't
forget you have a wall that could joke out people's elbow.
We-
Don't
as I
judge,
said,
man. Don't judge.
Not judges at all, Mr. Sparrow. So what my colleague is really saying to
Let me tell you, this man's memory is so good. Every time we talk, he does be talking about things that happened 30, 40 years ago. So how come he could remember that? If he forget a little something, that's fine. Like how he does talk now is like if he living in the 70s and in the 60s and things. So his memory had to be real good.
Right, and I can understand that, you know, Mr. Sparrow. But what we're saying here today is that when you act as attorney for Mr. Robertson, that power that he gave to you, his donee, because he's that donor, then once it is provided that once it is that donor becomes mentally incapacitated, then that attorney power that you would hold on his behalf would be revoked as provided by law. So while we want a medical report that could speak to his forgetfulness so that we're certain that his forgetfulness is not impacting his mental competence to give you that power to act on his behalf. So once we get that report, we're able to speak to that attorney power that you would have and know that it holds validity so that you can transact on his behalf. If it does not, you would not be able to transact the sale on behalf of Mr. Robertson because there is provision in law that speaks to that power of attorney being revoked.
Talk plenty there, boy. But I understand what you're saying. So I just had to get a doctor to say he good.
Yes. So we first need that amount of information so that we're very certain that acting as attorney, you are able to carry out the sale of this house for him.
All right.
Jacques, you mentioned in your email that you'd have brought the power of attorney. Could we see a copy of it, please?
Yes, sir. Hugh.
Thank you so much.
And whilst it is that my colleague will go ahead and browse through this power of attorney, just to let you know that some of the things that we'll be looking for in this document is to first ensure that it has been duly registered at the Office of the Registrar General Department, and to also...
Well, it had a cover page on it and thing, but I just pull out the page that have the signature and thing on it now. So if you want to see all that kakada, I will send that for you after.
Yes, that would be lovely because we will still have
Yeah, there was stamp up and thing and the coat of arms and thing, you'll get it.
Yes,
You'll get it, you'll get it, you'll get it.
We would definitely love that cover page so that we can conduct our due diligence and do our online checks at the registry to just confirm the registration of that document. We'll also be just browsing the document. As we've just received it, of course we'll need some more time to, you know, look
We
at
have
the
all
document.
the time, look the clock there. You only spend
Yes.
half the time so far.
Yes, but we have a 30-minute consultation, Mr. Jack, and I
You have
don't
16 more
want
minutes
you
to have our
feel-
next set of lawyers to see. Are shopping.
I don't want you to feel rushed at all, and so we'll need to definitely look at the document with a more detailed eye, but just to outline that some of the things that we'll be looking for in this document is to ensure that you have the power to negotiate a sale price on behalf of Mr. Robertson, and to also retain an attorney to conduct the sale for Mr. Robertson.
Wait, say it there. It there say it have everything to do with the selling of the land. I could do that. It's
As
that.
we said, Jack, we want to be very sure that we are as meticulous as possible, and so we will
You
have
read that
to
yet?
be doing the No,
It's one page. You read that yet?
I couldn't read it. I don't want to.
You want me to read it for you?
No, that is fine. We will certainly read it and get back to you in relation to what it is that we are looking for.
But I want to leave here with advice, so if you need to read it, give me the advice.
We will be giving you the
I
advice.
peel out all the other pages so you wouldn't get distracted. I put everything on one page.
Yes.
While she talking to me, you can read it and tell me.
So whilst it is that you took out one page out of the document, we will have to see the document in its entirety.
Beginning to end. It starts with Trinidad, end with attorney at law. You are attorney at law in Trinidad, so you could read it.
You mentioned that you left off the cover page, etc. That this.
Yeah, I will give you all of that. Just assume that's legit now. It's legit, but I just tell you, based on what you're seeing there, if we're good.
Jacques, we cannot assume.
Is Mr. Sparrow now?
Oh, Mr. Sparrow, very well. Mr. Sparrow, we cannot assume. We'd prefer to have the document in its entirety.
Yeah, have the document.
We have a page from the document as you would
From
have
beginning
indicated.
to end, it starts off with the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and it ends with the signature. You have everything there.
Mr. Sparrow, I see here that on the power of attorney, it makes mention of certain powers to manage any affairs whatsoever related or necessary for the purpose of completing the conveyance of that property. We'll certainly, again, with a more detailed eye, review this, but in that clause, it would allow you, seemingly, to conduct any of the affairs necessary for the sale of the property.
And as I would have been listening to you, Mr. Sparrow, we need to be certain that you're able to negotiate the sale price, retain an attorney, you're able to
Sale price done set, you know, $1 million, $1 million.
Right, I can understand that, but just the same, we have to see the responsibilities that would have been given to you in the document. And so we're supposed to be able to ascertain from the document that you have these powers and you can handle the proceeds from the sale of the house, and you can also sign documents on behalf of Mr. Robertson.
Okay, all right.
So it's just us doing our due diligence in ensuring that this power of attorney document has been drafted properly, has been duly registered, and has listed all the responsibilities that you would have as attorney for Mr. Robertson.
Okay.
Mr. Sparrow,
Yes.
could you tell me a bit about the preparation of the document? Were you there when it was being prepared?
Well, I take him to do it, but I stay outside. You know, I didn't want to be in the room with him and things. So the lady in the office, she and the lawyer and them do the thing, and we come out and I carry him for ice cream and we went back home.
And could you indicate which lawyer was the person who had prepared this power of attorney document?
It's not on the document?
It is. We just want for you to confirm.
Yes.
Well, so you can't tell her that is your colleague. Watch and say, look, the lawyer name there.
And yes, whilst it is that we can look at the document, it's really helpful, whereas we're very certain that you as
The
Mr.
most certain thing is to watch who name on the document and who sign it, and that is the name.
I can understand that. It's just for us to continue doing due diligence and just knowing how this
So how me
preparation
telling
was
you who signed?
executed.
Well, okay, I take him to the man who named there, and he do what he was supposed to do, and I take Robbie back home.
Mr. Sparrow, could you just indulge us a bit? If you know the name of their attorney, that would
What
be
name
very,
it
very
say there?
helpful. We are asking you to tell
You
us.
question it now that I don't like how this going is like if you quizzing me on my own documents.
Well,
No, it's not a quiz. I can guarantee.
So
it's
then
not a quiz.
the name there, that lawyer, that is the man who signed the document with him, and Robbie do his thing. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Sparrow, we can understand that. And whilst it is you're acting as attorney
We only have
for,
10 minutes and you still asking me the name that you seeing on the paper there.
and this is just for us to execute our due diligence. So we just want to be very certain that you are aware of all the information as you're acting as attorney for Mr. Robertson and you're managing
Let me make
the
it easy for you.
affairs
Watch.
for Mr. Robertson.
The name of the lawyer is Brendan Blackwood.
Okay, Mrs. Sparrow, very well, thank you. And was anyone else present other from Mr. Robertson?
There was
that
a
you
witness to
signed?
the document signing, and the person's name is Yara Ironborn.
Was there anybody else?
I
know
wasn't in the room.
very, very well. So you do
Robbie,
not know.
Robbie was in the room.
So you do not know about anybody, but
I don't know who else
Very
was there.
Okay, thank you for that information. And you had all indicated that you'll be able to send us a full copy of the power of attorney
You will get a
document.
back page, you'll get a front page that says certified copy, and you'll see the deed number in front for the registration. You'll see the coat of arms, and you'll see a little grocery list right down in front of it, where I was going to buy Pampers for Robbie and all those other things. That's it. I take it out because I feel like embarrassed that I write down anything now. So that is why I take it out.
very, very well, but it would be very important for us to get it. Please indulge us. You also mentioned in your email that you'd have brought a copy of the deed. Could you provide us with that?
Boom, bang. Before, any question? Listen, before, the lawyer is Marjorie Terrell, and the person in the office for them was Oberon Martel. Anything else? No, I didn't study for this test. So let me get the answers now with a open book. What more you need to know?
It's not a test, Mr.
All right, good.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
So we'll be looking at the deed of conveyance just to ensure that the name that is on this deed is of Mr. Robertson, as well as the address of the property, as that information is relevant to us here today. And I must also ask, was a surveyor's identification report done for this property?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check my file. I didn't bring the whole file. I just bring what I tell you I was bringing.
Very, very well. So please, when you check that, please inform us. Additionally, I'm not seeing here the registration. Can you say whether it was registered or was this?
That, well, it had a little barcode stamp thing. That's on the front page of the other one.
Okay.
Come Robbie and I, we kill time by the doctor office, and we was playing tic-tac-toe in the front, and he real beat, man. I was embarrassed to bring that page with that on it, so I scratch up on it now. But I'll bring it for you,
Yes, we'll need those documents because we still have to do our due diligence in checking to ensure that these documents have been duly registered.
I see here where Mr. Robertson holds the freehold interest in fee simple. Very, very well.
And can you speak to whether or not Mr. Robertson resides at this property?
No. There's a beach house thing here there in Toko. He living next door to me.
And does anyone else occupy the property at this time?
I don't know, I never went now. I mean, I drive by to scope out the scene, but I didn't go inside, so I don't know who inside are there.
Okay. And can you just inform us whether or not there has ever been a mortgage taken out for this property?
Nah, Robbie wash with money. Robbie do borrow thing. Robbie dies. Robbie money tall.
Very well. That is very, very good. No mortgage.
No mortgage.
Very well. Mr. Sparrow, you mentioned in your email an eager purchaser.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the name of this purchaser?
Let me get to that now. You say there's a client interview, but I kind of interview you all you. I had to check out all your vibes first. So once I'm comfortable, then I could tell you who buy in and whatnot.
Okay.
Very
All
well.
right.
Mr. Sparrow, I understand your need. However, we really want to help you. We really want to assist in this
I want to
matter.
help all you too. I want to bring the purchaser to come here so they could act for both of us. So we could do everything in house now. Because, I want this thing go through fast. So here's the scene, right? I want all you to act for us. And we be selling and act for them buying. They would buy it through a company because, they wouldn't put it in an individual name. They would put it in the company's name. Yeah? They want all you to act as a stakeholder. So you will hold the deposit, right? It'll be in cash. But, man had to eat now. So, I want to get, my commission out of it now. So, you all could just write back a check to me for the commission. And me and Robbie good. I mean, there is no scene. So, and then when they're ready to close and thing, they will come back and we'll sign up everything and we're good to go.
Thank
Yeah?
you so much for divulging all of that first.
So you tell me be
Mr.
open,
Sparrow.
so I'm telling you, that's the scene.
We appreciate
Exactly.
that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
First, Mr. Sparrow, as a firm,
Call
it's our
me Jack,
policy-
man. Call me Jack.
All right, Jack.
First, as a policy, at our firm,
It's police, what?
policy,
Policy. Okay.
policy. At our firm, we do not facilitate transactions in physical cash. Rather,
Venmo,
yes,
Zelle, PayPal.
yes.
You'd rather be cash.
Yeah, yeah.
I sophisticated, I cash. So ghetto.
Very, very well. In respect of your desire for us to act as attorney for both vendor and purchaser, we do not as a firm act for both vendor and purchaser in conveyancing matters.
Are you allergic to money?
No, we aren't allergic to money. What we are allergic to is possible conflicts of interest.
Well, possible. So here's the thing. If, I mean, there's not my first rodeo. I do this all the time. You go by a lawyer, two parties go and they conduct the transaction for both parties. You just let them sign a thing saying, like a disclaimer or something. You could do that.
And Mr.
Nothing wrong with that.
Jack, I call you Jack, right?
Sure.
As you would know, as a realtor, these transactions don't always run so smoothly. And in that effort, if we should act as the attorney conducting the sale for both you or potential client and the purchaser, then if a conflict of interest should really arise, we'll have to be balancing not just your interest in having this property sold, but also the purchaser's interest, and that will result in us splitting our attention
But it's
from
it
your
2 hours.
client.
It's 2 hours. So here what? It's a straight sale. I mean, no bank and no mortgage. You ain't matter do a search. It's literally we want you to draft up the piece of paper to trans. You see, like that piece of paper here, there, we just want one just like that with the names change. $1 million is the price. I get my cut. All you get all your fees.
And we do understand that desire, Mr. Sparrow. But however, it is not best practice here at our firm to act as attorney for both the vendor and the purchaser.
So you never make an exception.
We're not willing to deviate from our
But
firm's policy.
being breaking no law and asking to nothing wrong is you just have to say, well, okay, you present both of us and say, oh, let's sign that to say that you have no problem with
Mr.
us acting for both parties.
Mr. Sparrow, and I understand you'd want us to do that, but as best practice, it is not well for us to deviate from that policy, to not represent both
So you're
vendors
rigid
and
then. You
purchasers.
were even studying what I saying. I mean, how
It
much?
would be best for the purchaser to retain an attorney at law for him or herself so that we can have dialogue with that attorney to conduct the sale. And should there be anything, we're always able to have our attention on you and be able to advance your interest as our client.
I look
at
like
all
somebody who wants
times.
attention.
Mr. Sparrow.
We just want we just want to be able to at all times prioritize your interest.
And how you bring yourself across, Mr. Sparrow, you don't even have to require that attention. You captivate that attention.
I don't want that. I want to play low key. I don't know nobody see me. I don't know bank involved. I don't know other lawyers involved. I mean, the purchaser has lawyers, but all his lawyers is criminal lawyers.
Mr.
So
Sparrow,
I say if I bring it to a decent firm for a change, you know, you could do the thing.
we are guided by our Code of Ethics and Canons, and we also have our Legal Profession Act, which we practice to stay within the provisions, and so we here at the firm had made it best practice to not represent both parties, and is going to be the position. It will not be difficult to have dialogue with an attorney at law for the purchaser, but rather just for us to be able to conduct the sale smoothly. It will be best to be advancing your interest.
Papa. Okay.
Right? And also, on the same matter of acting as stakeholder in conducting this transaction, we would prefer to act as agent, and I'll tell you why. When it is that we have to act as stakeholders in conducting this transaction, we will have to be balancing the interest of yourself and the purchaser. Whilst it is if we act as agents, then we're able to just solely advance your interest in the sale of this property.
And that way, Mr. Sparrow, in the event that there is a cancellation or some problem with the sale, then this deposit that will be paid out, we'd not have to think about the interest of the vendor and the purchaser, but just your interest. And of course, by extension, the interest of Mr. Robertson.
Oh, this mama guy,
in
boy.
terms of the.
Alright.
Very well.
Okay.
Can you tell us the name of the purchaser, please?
You don't need to know that until I decide I pull in the trigger. But once I pull the trigger, them lawyers would contact all you and they go get the name, because I think they're going to set up a new company now. Cause like, between me and you may even feel they want the land itself, you know. I think they just have money and they want there was somewhere to put it now. You know?
Very well, Mr.
You know?
And in speaking to the deposit that the purchaser wants to make, Mr. Sparrow, the deposit that the purchaser wants to make, can you speak to what percentage of the sale price that would be?
We negotiate at 20%.
20%.
I tell you, they wash with money.
That's quite a sizable amount to deposit, as the usual deposit amount is 10%.
Listen, them would have bringing it 100%. If all they did play right, 100% will come in. When we deposit, they just bring all the money.
Well, it is, and because the standard law is 10%, whenever a payment has been made for a deposit that exceeds that 10%, the remainder percentage would be further payment regard to the sale price. So whilst it is my colleague who have indicated that this
My
deposit...
neck hurts and me having to turn to watch all you. Jeez. Let me just...
But just sharing the information with you, Mr. Sparrow.
I know, it's just that as you have my face in here now, I feel like I need naughty corner, but you have a nice plant here. I go to say it need water, but I don't think that's real.
Apologies, Mr. Sparrow. We just like to, as best as possible, get all the information.
Okay.
And so we can help you.
All right.
And this company that you speak of, that the purchaser wants to purchase this property through, what is the name of this company?
2 dozen.
2 dozen.
I doesn't know, and I doesn't think you need to know that yet.
Oh,
Interesting.
Mr. Sparrow, we really need a lot of this information.
But if you're not acting for them yet, right? I don't think they even formed the company yet, you know. They're just waiting for me to say, well, hey, the lawyer will do everything for everybody. They will get all to register the company. And then colleagues do that too, right? Or they could register a company and thing.
Okay.
We can act and assist and give legal advice.
Well, it's not my company, it'll be their company. But if you say you not register any company for them, you don't want to act for them, you don't want their money, then they go get somebody else to do it.
That's fine. They should
And when
retain
they
their
do
own
that, then you will get the information about the name of the company, I think.
Okay.
Ask them about what I know.
Okay, Mrs. Sparrow, but just to be very clear, as attorneys, as I would have mentioned previously, we are governed by our code of ethics and canons, which would mean that we're not able to facilitate any conduct that would not be in keeping with the laws of this country. And so should it be that we become aware of anything that goes outside of the legal frame, then we would not be able to act as attorney in this transaction. And so we need all this information so that we're able to properly advise you, and so that we are able to ascertain enough information to be well informed and be able to, just go ahead to understand that everything is on the right track and within the legal framework.
I can't fight you on that, it's sounding good.
Very well. Based on what we've discussed today, Mr. Sparrow, you are acting, or rather you have power of attorney, or you're acting under power of attorney for Mr. Robertson for the sale of his beachfront property. You've provided us with the deed, and you've provided us with also a copy of the power of attorney, which we will be reviewing. The sale price is $1 million, and the purchaser is willing to deposit 20% of that $1 million. Would you like to add anything?
No, I just want to know if all you need anything else from me. If not, tell me what's the next steps.
Yes, so in terms of the source of this funding to purchase this property, you would have made mention that they will be purchased through a company, but we would like to know about the source of these funds because we have an obligation as attorneys to be in keeping with the anti-money laundering framework, the proceeds of crimes, and also the financial intelligence unit's limit on cash transaction. And so we are bound by those obligations, and we need to be doing our due diligence and where necessary enhanced due diligence to ensure that these source of funds can be well kept in.
Yes, and that it is verifiable. And that's especially why it's important that these funds be wired or transferred via the bank, because they have layers of checks that will help us to be in compliance with these obligations,
Yes.
as my partner will have
Indeed.
mentioned.
And so we'll need more information about this purchaser. And also in our efforts of keeping with our Know Your Client guidelines, we'll need to be able to really have all of this information so that we're able to ascertain all of what
Well,
is
it's
going
know
on. in
your
terms-
client. So if I am your client, you don't know me.
Yes, we'll need to know you, but also
I like long sunsets and walks on the
The-
beach. I love puppies. I'm a cancer.
Mr. Sparrow, I'm sure, as a realtor, I'm sure
realist.
that you, as a realist realtor,
Yes.
you would be very familiar with these ideas to know your clients,
Yes.
and being able to verify source of funds, etc. Yes? Very well.
Especially where it is that these sums expressed on deposits are very large and outside of our regular 10%.
I would just tell them pay
deposit.
10% and any talk, you know. I could tell them pay less and then cut that and they will pay the rest when they pay the rest.
We would also need to know about the more information about this company because you have mentioned that it has not yet been formed or registered and we have not been provided as yet with a name for this purchaser. And so there is a lot of information that is still needed by us here today so that we could properly advise you because I'm sure you don't want to leave here not being properly advised. Yes, so that's some information that we'll definitely need. And you also spoke to a commission and writing out a check. What commission would you be referring to?
I am a real estate agent. I get the seal for the man. I take in a commission from the seal. So,
Commission as the realtor dealing with.
yeah, is I get these people to buy Robbie land. So, friend or no friend, I might work.
Is that commission something Mr. Robertson is aware of?
He had to know.
He has to know very well.
And would by chance the papers that are missing from the power of attorney document would have some provision as to the percentage of that commission?
The power of attorney is nothing to do with my commission. The power of attorney is for me to act for him because he can't do things for himself. But I don't mean I can't get him a commission. I is the real estate agent on the deal.
I understand, but what would speak to this commission that you would
I would speak to
receive?
the commission.
Is
You
there a
would-
contract to that effect? Anything in writing to that effect that would prove?
Yes.
If you could draft up something for Robbie to sign and me to sign, I happy with that. But Robbie's my boy. I mean, if I sell the thing for him, he would give me a commission. Robbie money tall, I short. Let me get some money too. Man, how to eat.
We understand that, Mr. Sparrow.
Uh-huh.
And as I would have mentioned
call me Jack, man.
earlier, all right, Jack. As I would have mentioned earlier, we have to be certain that everything that is being done in relation to this transaction is legitimate.
What you're trying to say, what am I saying that is not legitimate? Do you not know that commissions are paid to real estate agents?
Indeed, but in doing our due diligence, we have to be very meticulous in all the information that we receive and all the advice that we
Well,
put
the money coming to
forward.
me anyway, you know. So I gain my commission no matter what. I was just taking it out of the stakeholder money.
Could you explain that a bit more?
It's all right. You have crayons, I could draw it out for you.
No, that's not necessary, sir.
Alright. I feel it necessary. But I can't even draw it in my hand. My hand's still hurting me from that. I had to talk to you about that. So, the land selling for $1 million. Right? Deposit 10%. $100,000. Give you that. From that, you write a check to me for $10,000. Right? That's my little portion for the time being. And that is it. You could do that for me?
We'll have to have more discussion in relation to everything here today, Mr. Sparrow.
All right, cool. Well, you have my email address.
Yes, we do.
Thank you so much for coming to our office.
All right. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Sparrow.
Pleasure to meet you too.
Come around. I don't want to shake your hand over the table.
All right, no problem. That's very nice. I never heard that before.
All right, Mr. Sparrow, have yourself a
Have yourself
wonderful
an
rest
awesome
of the day.
Allow me to escort you.
All right.
And so you don't hit this again.
Outside?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah? I'll finish for now. All right. Yeah, this batch finish.
Mr. Patterson, that was quite a bit there, and we have a lot of information that we'll still need from Mr. Sparrow because a lot happened in terms of the monies and, you know, in doing our due diligence as attorneys. This matter is really putting at us that our enhanced due diligence needs to be applied here.
Yes, certainly. I feel as though, first, of course, there is the need for Mr. Robertson to go to the doctor to ensure that
definitely.
his mental competence is not affected, so
Yes.
that the power of attorney is valid. If not, then a committee would have to be appointed. Of course, you
Yes, the
know.
Mental Health Act will make a provision for once it is that an attorney cannot act on behalf because Mr. Robertson forgetfulness impacts his mental competence, then a committee can be appointed by way of an application to the court, whether by a next of kin or a public officer that's appointed by the minister, and they will be able to carry out this transaction for Mr. Robertson. Would also be really good if we could get a valuation report on that property so that we are able to see the value of that beach house comparison to the proposed sale price. And I have questions about a company that has not been formed as yet or registered. So there's really a lot at stake here that we need to really be mindful and be meticulous in how we approach this matter. But it really rests on that power of attorney document, because once it is that his forgetfulness impacts that mental competence, then Mr. Spur would not be able to act on behalf of Mr. Robertson.
Yeah, certainly there's quite a bit where we need to get, and so we certainly have to have another meeting with Mr. Sparrow.
Yes, indeed. And also in terms of the surveyor's identification report, to know about the size of the property and the boundary irregularities and encumbrances or liens on the property. So there's quite a bit of information still missing that we would really need to be able to move forward the cash transaction.
So what I'm going to suggest, Ms. Da Silva, is that I will review the power of attorney and the deed in more detail.
Yes.
I'd suggest that you write what we've discussed and send that statement to him, as well as a list of further documents
Yes,
that
indeed.
we need, as well as some convenient times and dates that we can have that follow-up with him, because we certainly have a lot more information that we need to get out.
Yes, indeed. And it would be really helpful if we could just have a sit down with Mr. Roberts. And of course, we're no medical doctors and we can't speak to his forgetfulness and everything of that sort. But just to get a feel, to ensure that, you know, Mr. Spar is sufficiently expressing his interest.
Yes.
And that way, you know, we're more familiarized with who Mr. Spar will be acting as attorney for. And so it would be really helpful if we'll be able to just have a sit down with Mr. Sparrow and get those documents as well as to get the identification card. Yes.
Yes.
So for Mr. Sparrow as well as Mr. Robertson on file.
Yes.
So in that email, we'll just include all of those things so that we're able to carry out our due diligence, keep in conformity with or know your client's obligations, and to propose some dates and times that we could have that meeting, whether by Zoom or physical, whatever would work best.
Yep, so we have our work cut out for us, yeah?
Quite a bit, and we'll definitely need a follow-up meeting with Mr. Sparrow so that we can get more information about this purchaser, because we did not get enough information from him, and so we'll certainly have to get more information so that we're able to really speak to this matter and all the implications that could arise.
Yep. Well, I mean, I'm running a bit late for a meeting, so I'd love to have further conversation. Probably sometime next week, maybe Tuesday afternoon.
Yes, Tuesday sounds good.
Yeah.
So we can really sit down and I show you the statement I'll draft with the information we've collected, as well as anything else we need to discuss and any further research we need to do in terms of
In terms of everything, really.
yes,
Yeah,
especially
absolutely.
the monies, because you know that if the currency is not from within our jurisdiction, then we'll have to do the request through the
from the
central
central
bank.
bank, yeah.
So we have quite a bit of information that we still need so that we know all our steps moving forward and can further advise Mr. Sparrow.
Yep. We'll certainly have to do more talks about this. I'll
Yes,
talk to you on Tuesday afternoon more about the matter.
sounds
Alright.
good to me.
Have a good day.
All right, you too, Mr. Patterson.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Norman Manley Law School. So the attorneys will switch mics and the maintenance department will again put the furniture back into the neutral position. Set up their office.
make sure you're writing. The pen. Make sure the pen writing down there.
Hi.
How may I assist you?
Deja vu, boy. Keep seeing you.
Hi, your name is?
I'm Jacques Sparrow.
Mrs. Sparrow, you're okay. You're here to see the attorneys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, have a seat, please.
Okay, thanks. I'm familiar, boy.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good
so
send
you
him
send
in.
him in.
Mr. Sparrow, you may
Yes.
have a seat, please. Attorneys will see you.
Something wrong with that chair. I nearly fall and kill myself on that chair.
My apologies, sir. Kindly watch your step.
Okay, sure.
Good
Sister.
afternoon, Mr. Sparrow. How are you?
I nearly kill myself on all your
Oh
chair.
my
This chair
gosh.
good?
Our apologies.
okay.
Yes, this one is fine. We had it checked before you came in.
Sturdy.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Oh,
So
nice
welcome
shoes,
again.
man. I like
Thank you.
Yeah.
Swanky.
Welcome to our law firm, Mr. Sparrow. My name is Miss Wilson.
Hi, you can call me Jacques.
Jacques. It's
Yes.
French, right?
Oui.
Oui.
Yes.
And this is Mr. Taylor. We're both attorneys and we'll
Mr.
be
Sparrow?
representing you today.
It's a pleasure
Jacques.
to finally meet you.
Jacques. Okay. So would you like us to address ourselves by our first name or that's fine?
Oh, no, that's
Okay,
fine.
so just Jacques. All right. Would you like anything to drink?
Oh, no, I'm good. I've been drinking all day.
Okay. Okay. You may have a seat.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Sparrow.
Yes.
Yeah, we did check it. Remember?
No worries. You're good.
It should be fine now.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All
You
right.
comfortable?
Very.
Oh, wonderful. So, welcome again to our firm, Mr. Sparrow. We're glad that you selected us out of the many options that you would have had today.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Doing a little lawyer shopping, you know, walking around to see who could play ball.
Okay.
Oh, okay, okay. In Trinidad, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we just want to remind you that we have 30 minutes allotted for interview today, and also to assure you that this is a confidential space, and therefore anything that we discuss today will remain within the confines of the law firm.
Okay.
This also extends to even our receptionist that you saw.
But I
Our
seen her whole
receptionist.
day, so I want to know if what I see, if she
Yes.
gonna carry it back where I was.
No, she is bound by confidentiality as well. All our
She's
junior
part of a
partners.
triplet or something.
We're not
I
certain.
tell you, she looks so familiar.
Oh,
Anyway, let me.
yeah, you know,
let me move
Trinidad,
on.
a lot of persons look alike.
What I mean?
Well, a lot of persons, we're all descendants of, Indians and Africans, etc. So we all have that tendency to look alike. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So the only way that we could disclose your information, Mr. Sparrow, is if you
Jacques.
give Mr. Jacques. Pardon me. So the only way we can disclose your information, Jacques, is if you give us permission to do so, or if the courts so request for us to do so. We have placed our phones on silent as well. So if you don't mind, we'll ask you to do the same. But if you're expecting an emergency call, if you could put it on vibrate for us.
That's a nice compromise. I could deal with that.
Wonderful. So we'll also be creating a client profile for you this afternoon,
Uh-huh.
and Mr. Taylor will start that process.
Okay. Profile, you say?
Yes, with your
My better
contact
side.
information, etc. Not camera, not
Oh,
camera
okay,
related.
okay. Fair enough.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
No problem.
Mr. Jack, you
I'm
just
telling
want
you,
to,
you could call me Jacques, so you don't have to put in the Mr.
okay, Jack. Just want to confirm once again that this is a confidential space and all of the information you give to us this afternoon will be kept in confidence.
I get that. Yeah.
Right? So I have a client form with me. I'll be asking you a few questions for that client form. We received your email. The correct spelling of your name is Jaceque. Is that correct?
Jacqueus.
And Sparrow, Spareaux.
We
What's your date of birth, Miss Jack?
don't give out presents and things for birthdays.
No, sir.
We just want to capture that information for the profile that we create of you. We want
Yes.
your information. in.
July 3rd, 19 something something.
19 something something? What's your address here in
I was born in
Trinidad?
the late 1900s.
Do you have your identification card with you,
On me, no, I don't have it.
You didn't bring any ID?
I could send that to you via email. I could scan and send a copy for you.
Okay.
We would need to see proof of the original documents, government issue IDs, for us to certify those documents and place it on your file.
What documents?
ID, proof of identification.
They just want to know that I am who I say
Yes,
I am.
we have
Yes.
to do that based on our code of ethics.
Well, I guess if we go in ahead and we're doing business, I'll work with it next time.
Yes, we also have to confirm that within the Legal Profession Act, we are bounded by certain laws. We must know our clients, KYC, and those
Jack Sparrow.
guidelines. Yes, those guidelines just indicate to us that we must confirm that you are Jack Sparrow, as you've indicated, right? Do you have an email address?
Yes, I do. That's the email address I sent you the instructions on.
Okay.
Just was confirming if you have an alternative.
No,
email
that's the only one.
Good. And you live in South Trinidad?
I look like a South man. No. I have several locations, but you can use your location that you could
Where do you
use.
reside?
Number 5. I live everywhere.
Everywhere?
Everywhere and nowhere.
Okay. Where
But
do
you
you
could
receive
use-
your mails?
Number 5. When you say receive my mails, are
Where
you
do-
making an assumption about me, my lady?
No, when letters are addressed to you, which one of the addresses?
Oh,
is it sent to?
MAILS.
Yes, MAILS.
Number
Jacques.
5, Dragons Row, King's Landing.
Also, Jack, you've indicated to us that you're a real estate agent. What's
I'm a
the name of-
realtor.
You're a realtor. What's the name of the real estate agency you
Oh
work
no,
with?
I am the brand.
You are the brand.
Jacques Sparrow, the realest realtor.
So it's Jacques Sparrow Realtor. Realty.
I am a realtor. The business is a sole trader. I am Jacques Sparrow.
Okay.
Do you have proof of your real estate agency number?
Is that necessary?
Yes, it is. Again, we have to confirm the information that you've provided to us. A part of that also is confirming that you are a real estate agent. And the real
Okay, I'm
estate
not a realtor, I'm a businessman. What you need me to show you? Money? Money come in.
Okay,
So
if
you're
I
not a
may-
realtor.
I am a realtor, but I am just saying that we spending all this time filling out a survey and I want to get to the meat of the thing.
Yes. So before
But
we
you all will rush me out of here by a certain time and I wouldn't get to know if I doing business with you all or not.
So before we get to the crux of the matter of why you came to KLD's law firm, we have to do our due diligence
Oh, no
and
problem.
ensure that we retrieve from you certain information.
Okay, buddy.
So just be patient with us, a few
Sure,
more
no
questions,
problem.
and we'll move on.
Okay.
Right. Now, we also note that you indicated in your email that you have an eager purchaser. What's the name of that individual?
Well, I mean, you consider this a client interview, but I consider this a lawyer's interview. You all are like the third set of lawyers I see for the day, and I have not been thoroughly impressed as yet.
Well, we hope by
so-
the end of this interview,
Yes.
Whenever that is.
impresses you. We
The next
impress you.
25 minutes, we still have 25 minutes with
Yes.
Mr. Sparrow.
That time will fly faster than you think, you know.
Yeah.
But
So back to
what
that
I'm
question,
saying,
the name of that purchaser.
so in my view,
In
you
your
can tell
view.
me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
You need to know about me.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll give you all that information. The purchaser, I know, is going to purchase through a company that has not yet been incorporated. So what they will do, they will pay a deposit in the meantime while the incorporation is done. Now what I was trying to do is make sure I bring the business to you all.
But Mr. Sparrow, so you're saying that the company is not yet incorporated?
The purchaser's company is
Has
not,
yet been
incorporated.
incorporated,
They
but they
putting
will
up the
be-
company. The company is being set up to
Yes.
own that parcel of land or that property. Is that a beach house kind of thing, right?
So they will be buying the land, in essence.
Yes.
Okay.
So, in terms of telling you who the purchaser is, I could tell you, I don't want to call the name of the principals of the purchaser,
Okay.
but the purchaser will eventually be a company. And how long will it take to set up a company?
In Trinidad? Well, usually you could apply online. I think it's within a week, five business days.
A week? Okay. Cool. Well, within a week you will know the name.
Okay. Well, if you do retain us, you will give us that information.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we must indicate to you, Mrs. Sparrow, that
Jacques.
sorry, Jacques, that we would need the name of the purchaser, who will be the
Eventually, of
vendor,
course.
eventually, should you retain this law firm. Because also we must do our due diligence and
I keep
ensure.
hearing that whole day. Somebody
Yes.
please tell me what is due diligence.
Due diligence simply means that we do our cross-check
Yes,
to ensure that
exactly.
all of the information you give to us is correct. Also, I asked you about those
You don't trust me.
IDs. It's not that we don't trust you. Here in Trinidad
Let me
and
see,
Tobago-
you are a lawyer. Let me see your practicing certificate. I need to know if you really are a lawyer.
Okay.
You
so
have ID? I
so
want
if
to
you
see
take-
your ID.
If you take no, Mr. Sparrow, you'll see.
I'm seeing
or-
nothing.
or
I'm seeing a
licenses
blank wall.
On the
I am seeing
wall.
a blank wall.
Or, so we'll have our secretary take those.
We will
things for your
exchange
inspection.
that information.
Yes.
Oh.
I like this due diligence thing. I want to know the persons I'm talking to or who they say they are.
And
Yes.
I like that.
we have no issue with that.
Rastafari.
And if I may, Mr. Taylor, so just to also, what Mr. Taylor had said, under the Real Estate Agents Act, it's important for the realtor who is representing the party in the transaction to provide the details of the realtor and also the details of the purchaser or the seller. So that
Yes.
is why Mr. Taylor wants all of that information.
The Real Estate Agents Act.
Yes, in Trinidad. You're a part of the Real Estate Association, right?
The realist.
You're a member there?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, and you have your real estate agent's ID.
You remember when he did ask me that?
Oh, okay. We just want to be sure.
Just confirming, Mrs. Sparrow.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Wilson.
All right. So Mr. Taylor asked you, Jacques, regarding the eager purchaser, but you're unable to give us that person's name.
I could tell you other things. I really, I'm not trying to be a kind of way. I'm just telling you that.
Not a problem.
So like, okay, I know they want the property. I don't think they
Yes.
want the land itself. I really just think they want something to do with their money, you know?
Okay.
So what they will do, they will, ideally they want to pay cash. They're not going through no bank and thing,
Okay.
right? I mean, they have other lawyers, but most of the lawyers, all the lawyers, I think, is criminal lawyers. So I say I bring the business here, so you'll act for them
Ms.
as
Wilson,
the
if I
purchaser,
may.
Sure.
and you will act for me
Jack,
as the vendor.
what's the purchase price of the house?
$1 million.
1 million. And that's 1 million TT dollars?
Yes. Still over dealer.
Well, we have read the power of attorney briefly, and we have seen the deed, which you said you brought those copies with you today. Could we have them?
Yeah, just wait. Tell me what you want.
The power of attorney. You have the deed.
Power of
to the
attorney.
property.
Boom.
Okay, thank you. The deed to the property.
You could get that. You could get that. You could get that. Deed. Booyah.
Okay. And were you able to take in any identification information for Mr. Robertson?
What you want from him?
You said you would bring copies of his ID?
Yes. I have that. I'll give you that. This is his ID card, front and back. I'll make it big for you. Because he both only wearing glasses.
While my colleague look
You
at
wanted
those
the
documents,
passport too?
Sure. While my colleague look at those documents, I have a few more questions for you. You said that the purchase price is 1 million TT dollars, correct?
Said
Was
what I
there
said.
any discussion of a closing date for the sale of that house?
Well, I guess whenever the company registered, then they could come and they'll pay that money anytime.
Or any time?
Bag of money, boop, right here.
Mr. Sparrow, from the information you provided to us so far, that may be an issue. The issue about the company not being incorporated. My colleague and I have been speaking about the anti-money laundering guidelines here in Trinidad and Tobago. So a part of what we must do is we must assist with the possibility of money laundering. You
Money who?
indicate money laundering, right? So we would have to ensure that we get a source of income, right? You seem
Who
not.
source of income?
You said that the purchaser, you don't want to give us his name. There's
Yes,
a huge amount of money.
You say his. Are you assuming the gender of the person?
No, it seems like you are
You said
not being
his.
forthcoming with
I'm
any
not being forthcoming.
information.
No,
Yes,
no, no,
we've
no.
asked.
I telling you everything. What I told you is the company has not been incorporated. How could I tell you the name of a company that does not yet exist?
Correct.
I'm telling you that in the same way you want to decide if you will take me on as a client, I have to decide if I will take you on as attorneys.
Correct.
So
And
you're
then if
doing
I-
your due
if I-
diligence with us, you're saying.
Exactly, amen.
Jack.
Preach. So what I'm saying is that once we cross that hurdle and I'm comfortable,
Yes.
then I will tell the purchaser, well, hey, these lawyers, they're good. You should go to them. Yeah?
Yes. But you've come to KLD's law firm for us to give you advice.
Yes.
You've already paid for a consultation. So before you
I get a
leave-
receipt though, but go on.
Yes. Before you leave, we want to ensure that we furnish you with the best advice possible for you to make an informed decision. And I'm saying to you, based on the information you've provided so far, that is going to be an issue. We must abide by the Anti-Money Laundering Act, guidelines of Trinidad and Tobago. Also, there is the Proceeds of Crime Act here in Trinidad.
Why are you telling me all of these things?
I'm telling you all of it because this is a huge sum of monies.
$1 million in Trinidad?
Yes.
Brother,
Yes.
in Trinidad, $1 million for anything. Take it and run.
No,
Take it
but
and
we are
run.
also guided by the Code of Ethics as legal
You
practitioners.
said it's sum of money, so I want to know what about $1 million is a
We
big
want
deal?
to ensure that our law firm remains above board in all of the transactions that we engage with.
Okay,
Right?
fair.
If I-
Ms. Wilson?
Okay. Thank you, Jacques, for your patience. I know we have about 20 minutes left out of your interview. Just want to confirm regarding the property of Mr. Robertson, was there a recent valuation done on that property?
Not that I'm aware, I don't know. I can't say.
Okay, so we would require that a valuation be done in the last 6 months for it to be valid, and also would like to ascertain the value of the property based on the appraised value from the valuation. You did tell us that the agreed or discussed purchase price is $1 million. However, would like to also know the value of the property itself.
Correct.
Yes. Do you have that information in at all for us today?
Well, because
Jack?
there was no valuation that I know
Oh,
about,
so
I
there
can't
hasn't
tell
been
you.
an evaluation. Okay. Let us jot that down. I also have some questions regarding the power of attorney. I see it here. This is give us a 1 second. Jacques? Alrighty. So we see where Mr. Robertson lives at 3 Dragons Road. You also gave your address as Dragons Road as well? Okay. Are you familiar with Mr. Robertson outside being the person granted authority under the power of attorney?
That's my neighbor, that's my dog, that's my...
That's your dog.
Yeah.
So it's
I
5.
take care of him,
Okay.
That's...
We do see where the address that the power of attorney indicates for you is correct. We also want to establish whether or not the power of attorney is valid, because you did mention in your email to us that Mr. Robertson was becoming a bit forgetful. So based on that, we thought that it would have been something of concern to you, why you would have mentioned
Why
that
is
in the-
forgetfulness a
in the
concern?
email.
You just watch your wrist. You forget you didn't have one on watch.
That-
Why we
that's-
judging the man?
That's true, Jacques, but hear what we're saying now. Mr.
Look, all your song is so
Robertson
nice to me. I forget the 2 lawyers I went and see before. That is the kind
and
of
and that's
forgetful.
excellent
But that don't
news, and
mean
we
I
hope-
can't do business.
We
you
hope
know.
that it carries towards the end of our consultation with you today. Mr. Robertson is 88 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So when we hear forgetfulness, there are certain, we don't want to call them red flags, but there are certain indicators.
But then
that,
don't call it red.
Yeah.
Why people just say things they say they're not going to say?
Okay, so it brings out to us as attorneys or alerts us that it may appear.
I get that.
Yes.
Okay, that Mr. Robertson may not be of sound mental state. And when we say mental state, we mean that if he is forgetting here and there, it could be that at the time when he did his power of attorney or thereafter, he, maybe have Alzheimer's or just general forgetfulness. So I'd like to ask you some questions.
sometimes.
Yes.
Well, go ahead. Answer your
Okay.
questions.
So is he
So, Ms.
remembering his
Wilson,
name?
If I may.
Okay.
So, Mr. Jack,
Jacques.
as my colleague indicated to you,
Only one Jack.
only one
Jacques.
Jack. So, as my colleague indicated to you, you have a power of attorney, and from what we've read, it seems to be valid on the face of it. However, based on that email, there is a concern based on what you've shared with us. You've said he is becoming forgetful.
But you just forget everything. I
See-
tried to put on the jockey shorts him when he finished come out the toilet.
Good. So-
I think he even forget this land he had to sell, is I dig up in some papers and I see it and I say, but Robbie, look at this piece of land you could sell here.
And thank you for that information. So, based on what you've just shared with us, although you have a valid power of attorney, we must now do certain things based on the mental health ordinance of Trinidad and Tobago, right? So, with that being said,
The ordinance?
yes, the ordinance, Mental Health Act of Trinidad and Tobago. That piece of legislation tells us what we should do when a person may be incapacitated. However,
Robbie could walk.
it becomes a little complicated, and I'll share it with you. If this power of attorney was issued to you while Mr. Robertson was lucid, and somewhere between after you receiving
Luhu?
lucid, simply meaning that he was in his right
Yeah,
frame of mind
functioning.
and functioning properly. So if he gave you this power of attorney while he was in his while he was lucid, that stands to reason that you still have, this is actually still valid so long as the transaction is effected within 1 year. But as my colleague indicated, we would have to do further research and more questions with respect to the power of attorney. But what we can give you based on the preliminary information on the power of attorney, preliminary advice, is on the face of it, it seems valid. But we would have to continue on with some more research. Ms.
Okay.
Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And Jacques, you did understand what my colleague explained to you so far? Okay. All right. So I'm also looking at the documents you gave us for Mr. Robertson. And even though you gave us copies, you photocopied these yourself and took them into us, we would like to see the true ID or the true documents for us to make copies of those and certify those copies as
So am I bringing in your,
authentic.
but I look how my printer printing good. Watch how the colors is true blue.
Yeah,
you
these
know?
are nice and pretty
But
copies.
we don't really like people to take it and come out.
However, we would need to see the original copies of these documents.
What do you mean original copy?
Original copies.
Original
Is it
documents.
original or copy? I don't
It's
understand what you mean
original
original.
document.
Original document. The original.
They won't bring any passport.
Yes, along with
The ID.
correct. For us to be able to certify that we saw a true copy and that it is
So
matching.
this is a true copy.
No.
So
we
it's
need
true
to
to you because you
satisfy.
took it into us, but we'd like to see the original so we could
Yes.
Yeah,
then
but he,
certify.
well, then say original.
Yes, the
certify.
You say
original.
you saw a true copy, you mean you want to see the original?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
That's why we're here together, you know,
Yes.
just in case he forgets something and I
You
do,
see, he
vice
forgetful.
versa.
He forgets something.
But he's not 18.
Send him one of the
All right.
mental health.
Oh, okay.
to
not
be
not a
examined.
problem,
Yes.
Jacques. So what we are also noticing, I didn't get to ask you, was there a mortgage on the property?
No.
No, Mr. Okay.
Robbie,
And where's
Robbie
that property
wash with money.
located?
Robbie don't have to take loan for
Where's
nothing.
that property located?
Toko.
Jacques?
Toko.
Ah,
Toko.
Yeah.
okay, Toko.
Is that beach house?
All right, so we're also looking at these documents that you brought in. We're noticing that there are some variations in the signatures
Bless
for
you.
the deed, the deed, the passport, and the power of attorney. I'm seeing that the signature varies, and additionally, I'm also seeing that the passport, even though the number is at the top, the one at the bottom, it's missing a numeral, and based on our observation, we're going to say that we think that these documents are not authentic, which in case my partner was asking you to take those documents into us. Mr. Taylor, would you like to say anything
Yes.
regarding the
So,
interview?
Mr. Sparrow, as we now wrap up our interview with you, we've indicated to you that there are a number of things that
Red
seem
flags.
to us that are
So you're
inconsistent.
saying red flag
Yeah,
now?
we are definitive that these are red flags because
Yes.
we have conducted our own, using our own eyesight and looking at these documents, we see that they're not authentic in that the signatures do not correspond, and that to us
Yeah, but your
is a
signature
red
could
flag
change.
based
Yes.
on
Your
based
signature
on
could change.
well it could, but
How I used to sign when I was 16 is not how I sign now.
it could Jack, but for instance, this
No,
is
it's
not
help.
saying
Mr.
Robert.
Sparrow, please.
Oh, Mr. Sparrow Jacques. So I think
Mr. Sparrow.
Mr. Sparrow, my
Very
my
nice,
colleague
Mr. Jack.
will wrap up this
Mr.
interview
Sparrow.
based
Yes.
on a lot of
Inconsistencies.
inconsistencies in the documents that you reported to us, even your inability to provide us with your
Forthcoming with
own
the
ID.
information, yeah.
Yes, we don't think that we'll be able to go any further with you in terms of this consultation.
Yes.
So I get back my money.
Well, you did pay for a consultation. We
And
did
you've
Yeah,
given
but I
consult
left here with
you,
no
and we
advice.
have-
I left here with
we
nothing.
have provided you
I
with
walk
the
away.
advice that we
Yes.
would give to you, Mr. Sparrow, is that under the real estate agents
Yeah, if
act,
you're
there are
keeping my
certain-
money, you're my lawyers.
there are certain guidelines that you should follow as a realtor, even if you are a sole proprietor.
Yes.
And we recommend that you go back over those to see, you know, where you fall, if you are in line with those regulations.
Not
and
the regulations.
just to remember as well that there have been a lot of instances of land theft and fraud in Trinidad and Tobago. And as attorneys, we have been trained by the Financial Investigation Unit on the red flags that we
Have you
should
been
look
trained by
out for.
customer care? So
Well, we have Mr. Sparrow, and remember
No,
that
but
we
you-
did.
all of a sudden this whole thing turned around. You all were inconsistent. You're watching and weighing, and you telling me about thing that no
We
red
do have
flag,
your
then it's
best-
red flag.
We do have your best interest at heart, and
Yes.
we would not want to see you get in trouble.
Well, then let me bring in your original
with the-
documents. That's all you need to tell me. I'll bring in your original documents.
I think where we are at the point of our consultation, we're thinking that we would not be able to do that.
Yes,
So
we
do
will
I
not
get
be
back
able-
my money?
No, we have consulted with you and we have provided you
with
advice.
with that legal
So,
advice.
That would be it for today, Mr. Sparrow. Thank you for coming. Not
Yes,
a
you can have
problem.
a
I hope you enjoy.
Mr. Sparrow.
Okay, have a good day, Mr. Sparrow. Okay.
I can see you out, Mr. Sparrow.
All right. So have a good day, Mr. Sparrow.
I will come and talk to you about that.
Yes. Please watch your step
Not a
as you
problem.
step out.
Not a problem, Mr. Sparrow.
Yeah, you talking
Mr.
holy
Taylor, my word.
Wow.
Again, one more.
Wow, wow,
I
wow.
don't understand these people
You know,
at all.
Corinne,
Yes.
Mr. Sparrow is a very interesting
Evasive he
young
is.
man. We are reminded that the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago, they are tasked with constantly informing members of the public
Of the public.
of fraudulent activities that happen here in Trinidad. I would say also that land fraud and identity theft is not new within the Anglophone Caribbean diaspora.
But it's
All of our
increasing.
countries
Yeah.
treat with the identity theft and
Yes.
land theft also. But interestingly, here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a dual land system of registration, the conveyancing, and then we have the
Property Act
Law
and the
Property
Real-
Act.
property. But he seemed to fall under the conveyancing because he did bring in a deed. which
Correct.
seems- the land is unregistered. He didn't provide us with any address, so we are unable to even verify if the
Yes.
information that he gave us here relates to the property that he wants to sell. And I'm looking at his name now. It reminds me of a case that I think was before the courts.
Yes.
So for me, I think that he would be trying to do another instance of
Yes,
identity
possibly.
theft.
And you know, the anti-money laundering guidelines also point or give us instances that we must remain vigilant
Yes,
before
exactly.
retaining clients to represent them. Mr. Sparrow was not forthcoming with
No,
the information
no.
we were trying to get from him. He did not present identification for us to, well, when I say identification, he did not provide
Anything?
us with documents that we
Yes,
can actually
his
see
own
and
IDs,
certified.
yeah.
So, and then the money transaction, the unincorporated business, those are
Yeah.
too many red
He
flags.
seemed quick to be wanting to give us some money, which, you know, as I
Yes.
said, anti-money laundering and poker,
Yes.
the Proceeds of Crime Act. I am suspicious that this may be one of those instances that Mr. Sparrow has been going. He said he went to 2 law firms before.
Already.
And we have to protect our profession because we're guided by our own code of ethics, as is he under the Real Estate Agents Act. So
But I think we've done we've done our due diligence.
yes, we have saved our
and we
profession
have
once
remained
more.
on the cutting edge of the legal
And our
profession
integrity, yes.
by ensuring that we keep ourselves abreast with new information, so that when we are presented with these issues, we know how to advise
And we have to
our
protect the
clients.
unsuspecting and
Yes.
88-year-old man.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. So, Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
we have a
Mr.
next
Taylor.
meeting in about another hour.
Yes.
The client is from the Bahamas, is that correct?
Yes, this one is
Yes.
from the Bahamas.
Yes.
The one to the transaction in Trinidad.
Yes.
We'll see how that one goes.
Very well. So we'll see each other around.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Eugene Dupuch Law School. At this point, we're going to invite our judges to deliberate for about 25 minutes to half an hour, and we will return in just about that time for the results. On is almost here. The judges have deliberated. And before we continue, I would like to invite Mr. Bernard Shepard, Senior Counsel, to give some remarks on behalf of our sponsors today, Lex Caribbean.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. It was indeed a pleasure to see the budding lawyers and the year ones. It was also a greater pleasure to see your colleagues play the ordinary man on the street, kinda, and look for ways in which they could sue the ambulance chaser. Justin? Principal, judges, Judge Marcel. Today was interesting, though. I will let the judges comment on the content of what transpired today. I would like to say it was a breath of fresh air for me to see the topic of conversation being about conveyancing and about the perils of practicing as a conveyancer and about the back office element of running a practice. I think it was just excellent, and all three groups of persons came up with different conclusions, and they handled the situation differently. And unfortunately, I don't want to tell you that Mr. Junkier is an extraordinary client. They come like that. And you have to deal with them on a daily basis like that. And you have to be able to maneuver and to be able to deal with the back comments and the frustration of practicing in that area. And thanks to the law school for also recognizing the importance of one, identity theft, the importance of recognizing FIU as an integrated part of a legal process in order to be able to execute on a transaction. From where I stand, I am not a litigator, I am a transactor, so I, of course, welcome that. It is also great for me to say that we pledge our commitment to the interviewing competition, Mrs. Samaru, and Mrs. Samaru, and we do have some recommendations going forward as it relates to it, and we welcome your overture to be able to kind of increase the package, and we'd look at it for the next round next year. Thank you very much for having me. I like you, I'm looking forward to the judges' responses, and may the best team win.
Thank you, Senior. I'm sure one person we would all like to hear from this evening is Mr. Jacques Sparrow himself. So I would like to invite Mr. Justin Jonker to speak to us very briefly.
Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols observed. Thank you very much for having me. And I don't mind sharing credit for the brief with the Hugh Wooding Law School, because were it not for the tutelage I received here an undisclosed number of years ago, I would not have been able to take part in and prevail in the actual case upon which the brief was built. So it may by now be common knowledge that the Law Association in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has released a note to its attorneys, and it probably will be applicable up the islands and across different jurisdictions. And that relates to the need for attorneys to pay more particular attention to transactions. And apart from how we usually structure briefs for these, we felt that we don't want to leave out a significant segment of the practice of transactional lawyers and what the type of care they have to pay attention in terms of the transactions they conduct. Now, this was a real case, and my client actually purchased land from what we now know to be a fraudster, and we had the unpleasant job of bringing a claim against one of our own colleagues. Of course, we were gentlemanly enough, unlike how I am here. In real life, I am a gentleman. To say, well, look, let's look at this a different way. Of course, it went to litigation, and it was decided the way it was, and it became an issue. And I think it was an important issue for you all moving forward, that you insulate yourselves from the negligence of not paying due care and attention to the documents that come before you. Apart from that, notwithstanding the fact that we use the term transactional several times in what I've said so far, your interactions with your clients are not transactional. They are the beginning of a relationship. And if you get to see it from that perspective, you will develop a more conversational tone in how you interact with these persons, because they are there not for your judgment and not to hear what you have to do or not do based on your profession and your practice and your code of ethics and your conduct. They want you without judgment, because you've invited them to be open with you. And when they open up to you, they should not leave feeling judged. They should not leave feeling any way other than advised, accommodated, heard, and understood. So that when it is you have a client in front of you in your real practice, remember that it's a conversation. Remember that it's a non-judgmental conversation. Remember that you are the lawyer. You went to law school and you learned what you had to, but they don't know. So when you speak to them in the language that they understand. Now, I don't mean be condescending, but you must be able to marry the language that you've learned at the law school with the language that you grew up learning and speaking. That way, you engender relationship as opposed to conducting a transaction. Yeah? Apart from that, I want to say that the quality of the performances, in my respectful view, they were high. The quality was high. I am not a judge, and I did not judge the competition, but I formed my own opinions, and I will keep them to myself. But I don't think that they would be far removed from the judges who will speak behind me, because they, far wiser than I, will have come up with what they considered amongst the three of them to be a fair adjudication of what was before them. And I don't think that too much separated the teams. I think because the teams distinguished themselves in how they treated with certain matters, if they were to give out these scores, I don't think it's going to be that far apart. And I think every team should be proud of themselves. So I'm going to ask everyone to give the teams a round of applause. As I have this soapbox, I want to also commend the law school for continuing to carry on this, I guess it's a council because it's all the law schools. I think this year's law school, the hosts were very gracious, and I compliment them for that. And as always, Lex Caribbean, not to be confused with Lex Fortis Law Chambers, at number 31 Picton Street, Port of Spain. Lex Caribbean has always, since I attended this law school, they've played human service to giving back to the profession through its embryonic stages of having persons develop one of the most essential and basic functions of lawyers, communicating with clients and starting the process. Thank you very much for having me. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Mr. Juncker. So we're going to hear from two members of our judging panel today. Firstly, I would like to invite Dr. Khatija Khan to speak from her hat as a clinical psychologist and to speak on the behavioral cues that were in this particular problem today and in the 3 interviews.
Thank you, Jason. I do want to say good afternoon to Principal Samaru, to Mr. Shepard from Lex Caribbean, Mr. Nato's tutor, my fellow judging panel, our esteemed client, actor Mr. Juncker, and to all of the participants, the teams, your coaches, and everybody who's observing. Good afternoon. Mr. Juncker already asked you to give yourselves a round of applause, well deserved. It's really a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. It's a breath of fresh air for me. Throughout my career, I've had to assess many interviews for clinical psychologists. We also have to do interviewing psychiatrists as well. But this is my first time doing it for lawyers, attorneys. But there are many overlaps, because some of those skills of communicating and that interpersonal relationship, there are those commonalities. So I wanted to give you just some brief feedback, which hopefully you find helpful. So first of all, you should be immensely proud of yourselves. For those of you who put yourselves up to partake in this activity, you know, in an exam, it's between you and the standard set for the exam. But when it's a competition, it adds another layer, because then it's also your performance relative to others. I do recognize that puts some pressure on you. It's timed, it's competitive, etc. And I think you did fabulously in that context, so you should all be proud of yourselves. Okay? Some of the strengths that I thought were apparent in all the teams in terms of your demeanor, your professional conduct, in terms of your attempt to explore pertinent issues as it relates to all the different professional aspects that came up. And of course, thinking on the spot, yes? So you were provided with information that you now have to assess, evaluate, and process all the while you're communicating with your client. So those higher order cognitive skills, which of course, as you develop more, you're just gonna hone and get better and better, but you're off to an excellent start. With respect to some of the areas that I hope you can take on board to help develop further, so in any human relationship or interaction, rapport is important, especially for those where you want the relationship to continue. If you don't want, then you don't need to form rapport. You get vexed and you go about your way. But rapport is that instant connection that you make with someone, and it happens within seconds. And then rapport is either maintained or you lose it, or sometimes it goes up and down. So being aware of what facilitates rapport and what interrupts or breaks rapport is important, and being able to pick up on the cue and how do you adjust. So would we agree that this client was challenging? Yes. However, he was equally challenging to all groups. And for those who are observing, I think we'd agree with that. Everybody got a little bit of thunder, or a lot bit of thunder. Yes? And so especially with a challenging client, figuring out how to communicate with them and to not either give in to some of those emotions, or how do you mask them in the moment, how do you process them. So being aware of your own body language, what's been displayed on your face, so whether you're a little bit shocked at something they tell you, or you're a little bit irritated because now he's pushing you and he's being a bit snarky and a bit cheeky, how do you manage your own emotions? When do you need to be firm, but when do you need to concede? Because maybe he has made a valid point, yeah? Part of that communication also is the body language. So, yeah, so communication, it's your verbals, but it's also your non-verbals. So there were times when he was indicating, I'm uncomfortable, or my time is important, and you want to pick up on those cues and respond to them. But here's what. That's going to get easier for you. As you get more experience, as you mature more, as you interact with all kinds. So after you meet your second, third, 10th challenging client, you'll be like, bring it, bring it. I could deal with you, yes? And then the final thing, again, when you're trying to communicate a point, and especially if there's a bit of tension or conflict, and you're not quite sure that this person is understanding what you're trying to convey, one technique is just to use some signposting. So you want to convey your point. You also want to give an indication of why you're making the point. Here are the repercussions or implications of it. Here is it from my standpoint, but here's why this is also important for you. So you don't just want to say, I need to do this because of my profession, because that speaks about your interest. But this is your client, and you're cultivating a relationship, so you also need to point out to them, even though you think this is stringent, here's how it's in your best interest. And I am here to manage both. So getting that phrase in your mind when you're explaining something, and that could take some of the edge away, could also take some of the defensiveness away, because you're also reassuring them that here's what, we're all on the same page, and I'm giving you information that will be helpful, okay? So I'm gonna stop there because I know, just the final thing, as I said, these skills are developmental, they're gonna come with time, but also what's really important is your self-awareness. So even communicating with clients at different levels, if they're a layperson, an educator, if they're tertiary educated, etc., one general rule of thumb is meet them at their vocabulary level. So whether it's a maxi driver with 3 years of primary school, or whether it's a fellow attorney, meet people where they're at, because then you'll know how you need to pitch things to ensure that they understand. And a truly proficient and competent professional knows how to break down complex concepts. When I teach it, I tell my students, explain it to your 5-year-old niece. Now explain it to 80-year-old grandma. You know, and if you can do that, if you could break down technical things, what is a mental health act, whether it's an FIU regulation, then those are going to be things, and you're going to get better at that. So again, it was a pleasure to be here with you. Congratulations to all of you, and I'll hand you back to Mr. Knapp.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. Now I would invite the Honorable Mr. Justice Westman James to give some further comments on behalf of the judges and announce the results.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is really indeed, and we all say it, but it's really a pleasure to be here this afternoon. I think it's a full circle moment for me personally, because I was in your shoes, right? I was one of the participants as long as Mr. John Kerr was here. So was I. Was in your shoes, and I was one of the attorneys and one of the participants for the Hugh Wooding Law School back then. And now I'm be able to judge it. I'm also uniquely positioned because, to be honest, I was that client. Actually, very recently, purchasing a property, and the attorney had to do some of the very same things. So even if it is not a client who is very lay person, it's even the persons who you think knows better. They will have to do the same thing. So it is very important, the skills that you have learned here. This particular competition is special to me as well because it also, from the comments from the judges, is one of the reasons why I became a lecturer later on, because they saw some of the qualities that came about in that client interview that day. So it is, I have to say congratulations to you all. I think you all did excellent. It is really, really hard to deal with difficult persons, and having to deal with Mr. John Kerr for so long in my life, I know very well what you have to deal with. So, without further ado, I just wanted to speak about two specific things. So, very briefly, because I adopt everything that the previous persons have spoken about is excellent. Two things I wanted: the ethical standards of the profession. It is one of the things that is tested in this competition because it is incredibly important. Your reputation means the world. And not only because you want to be and do the right thing. It's your trust to everyone else, not to all other clients, but to judges. Trust and believe. Judges sitting on this side of the fence, we look at who appear before us and whether or not we could trust the things that you say. And so if you do not have a proper ethical standard from now, we would see it, we know it, and trust me, you wouldn't get as much way as you would like to if it is that you don't. So so I thought everyone dealt with that extremely well, some more forcefully than others, but one has to know when it is that you are dealing with any individual and you're dealing with that ethical aspect, you have to explain that to them as well and make sure that they don't feel somehow that you're accusing them of anything, but taking an approach. As well as your attorneys, you're working, and especially in a firm, you work within a structure, right? Sometimes those decisions are not yours. Mr. Shepard, who is the senior counsel and the managing partner, as well as Ms. Ferdinand here will tell you, and they will buff you too, if it is that you make decisions on behalf of a firm that are not necessary, right? That may be above your pay grade. So there are ways in which one deals with those that kind of information. If you even feel a problem, there's a way in which you address your seniors. These are my concerns, and this is how I would like to deal with it and get signed off sometimes, right? And the last is that advocacy is, it's a conversational one, as Mr. Junker said. You have to make people feel client. It really is a people-person sort of profession, right? So those are just the brief comments I have, but well done. I was really, really pleased to see every one of you all. So in terms of no further ado, our decision as the judges overall was that in third place, when the marks were not very major between the parties, so we have to make distinctions and we have to look at the overall prospect. We think everyone did well. In third place, we judged the Manley Law School. In relation to second and first, I would just announce first instead, because you would know otherwise. So the first place, overall, the judges agreed on the Hugh Wooding Law School, which made second place the Eugene Dupuch Law School in relation to the competition. So congratulations to all teams. All right, and very well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge, and I cannot help but smile very broadly. Congratulations to the Hugh Wooding Law School. So at this point, we would like to make some presentations. First of all, we would make our presentations to the runners-up of the competition. So to the students of the Norman Manley Law School, Tyra McIntosh, Aaliyah De Silva, and Demario Patterson. And I would invite Senior Counsel Mr. Bernard Shepard to make the presentations on behalf of Lex Caribbean. So first of all, Tyra McIntosh, Aaliyah De Silva, and Demario Patterson. We would now like to make the presentation to the second place winners, the Eugene Dupuch Law School. So I'd like to invite Delmar Taylor, Kareen Wilson, and LaCroix Brown. First of all, Mr. Taylor. Miss Kareen Wilson. And to Mr. LaCroix Brown. And now I would like to invite our winners, the Hugh Wooding Law School. So we begin with Miss Genevieve Mohammed. Miss Marielle Garcia. And Mr. Reese Sankar. Of course, we must acknowledge the hard work of our coaches. Senior, don't go anywhere as yet. You still have more things to present. So I would like to invite Miss Cassie Jean Graham Davis, the coach of the Norman Manley Law School. Miss Anastasia Hepburn, coach of the Eugene Dupuch Law School. And Miss Kavita Diochan of the Hugh Wooding Law School. We do also have some gift baskets for our judges and our clients today. So I would like to invite Mr. John Kerr, who played our client Jack Sparrow. Dr. Khatija Khan. Miss Marcel Ferdinand. And Justice Westman James. And before we conclude, I must extend a vote of thanks to everyone who has assisted us. First of all, I want to say thank you to Lex Caribbean, our title sponsors, and to Senior Bernard Shepard for representing the firm today and for continuing to sponsor this competition. I must, of course, say thank you to our judges, the Honorable Mr. Westman James, Ms. Marcel Ferdinand, and Dr. Khatija Khan. Of course, our client, Mr. Justin Juncker. Here at the law school, we really have to say a huge thank you to the Office of the Registrar, Registrar Carter, Assistant Registrars Berment and Norville, the maintenance staff, the shuttle drivers, all under the Office of the Registrar. The Office of the Principal, in particular, Miss Deanne Williams, for all her assistance with this competition. We must say a very special thank you to the staff of the Legal Aid Clinic who have gone above and beyond to assist us over the past few weeks in preparation for this competition. And of course, all the coaches and associate tutors who have helped at the 3 law schools in preparing the teams. And, of course, our Student Representative Council here at the Hugh Wooding Law School for their assistance with student liaisons, our timekeeper, our secretary this afternoon. So thank you very much, everyone.